Introduction to Daniel Larson. Daniel Larson is a 24-year-old TikTok celebrity originating from Denver, Colorado. He rose to fame due to his unique TikToks and personality. While this introduction will cover a lot of the biggest and most important points about Daniel, it isn't comprehensive, and I will post more content about his incidents, updates, and whatnot as time goes on. He has a slew of issues, such as bipolar, schizophrenia, and autism. He is also a pedophile with way too many instances of sexting minors to count. Trolls quickly caught wind of Dan, and he subsequently became one of the biggest lolcows online. The timeline before his TikTok career is hazy, and only bits and pieces are known from the mouth of Daniel. Before TikTok, he was in foster care, as well as under the care of his grandmother after he was supposedly neglected by his mom. Unfortunately, it seems that Daniel did not treat either his mom or grandma right, and was abusive towards them. After his grandma's passing, Daniel went on to live in care homes, where he would spend time making TikToks. Among his earliest videos, he announced his presidential campaign, earning him the title Mr. President. Seeing how crazy and malleable Daniel was, many trolls began posing as management or labels to influence Daniel, and would get him to do and say things that would get him negative attention. The most notorious of these early incidents was in 2021, the May 6th incident, where trolls convinced Daniel that he was auditioning for an adult film and had him strip nude on a TikTok live. Many trolls also pose as a singer-songwriter known as Grace Vanderwall, who is on America's Got Talent, and he has been on a quest for her love ever since. He has likely fallen for hundreds of fake Graces and consistently talks about being in a romantic and very sexual relationship with her. It has gotten to the point where Tina Vanderwall, Grace's mother, has reached out to Daniel on Instagram as well as on YouTube comments to tell him to stop, but to no avail. After being in housing for some time, he was eventually kicked out and became homeless. During this period of time of homelessness in Denver, he was helped by a family friend named Bob, as well as some managers like Ox and Brink, who helped Daniel much more than other trolls, though their involvement in Dan's life is very controversial. Bob was one of Dan's mentors during his childhood and formative years, and he would help Daniel by paying for meals, motels, as well as get him some studio time to make his 3 songs, Roaring Thunder, Something More, and Merry-Go-Round. After being homeless for several months, he had actually found housing again, but it only lasted a month and a half after he assaulted the caretakers and punched holes in the wall, as well as self-harmed by hitting himself. He was then in and out of motels paid for by fans and Bob. On December 10th, 2022, Daniel's most deranged incident occurred. He claimed that the motel he was staying at had, quote, threatened to kill me, and he proceeded to have a meltdown where he beat up Bob. Afterwards, Bob bought him a plane ticket for California, and he was shipped out. From there, he had been homeless ever since, and has been making a, quote, world tour, as some fans call it. He traveled across the country by bus, train, and plane over the span of 5 months, finally landing in New York City. Most recently, he was given a plane ticket by an unknown source, likely Bob, to come back to Denver where he is now. He has since met with Bob, confirming that he is still alive and wants Dan to be well. It's unclear Bob's health status, but Daniel has said that he has cancer, and it seems that his health is deteriorating. Overall, Daniel Larson is an incredibly complex character, and to fully understand him would take hours of footage and analysis. But to boil it down to one sentence, Daniel Larson is a homeless pedophile and online beggar who is a profound narcissist and abuser, yet refuses to get the help he needs. For more info, you can check out Perk30 and Daniel Larson Curator on YouTube, as well as the wiki and Reddit, as these sources have the most accurate and up-to-date information. In the never-ending story of Daniel Larson, there has been one standout character who has been there for Daniel more than anyone else. Someone who has given it their all to help Daniel as much as possible, regardless of what he gives in return. Someone who has taken the impossible job of aiding Daniel and who has taken the full force of his outbursts and his rage. That man is Bob Proctor. Unlike most people in the Daniel Larson lore, Bob is not someone who is out to troll Daniel, and isn't even someone with an online presence. Rather, he is an elderly man who has helped Daniel since his formative years. He is around 70 years old, according to Daniel. Bob is an older man that Daniel met through a reading program at the Tennyson Center. He also developed a friendship with Daniel's grandmother, and there's some speculation that Bob was left in charge of some sort of bank account or trust fund that his grandma left to him after she passed. They believe that this is why Bob is unwilling or unable to let go of Daniel, even though he is so abusive to him. It is also assumed that one of his grandma's last wishes was for him to watch over Daniel, as he would have no family left to watch over him after she passed. With her passing and his mom and dad's absence in his life, Bob would be left to watch over Daniel. He would stay in care homes, but the paternal role would fall to Bob. Daniel and Bob have had a close relationship ever since, and he is likely the only true father figure Daniel has ever had. While it's unlikely Bob has a wife or spouse currently, Daniel has recently claimed Bob has a son, Jason, who is in the Army. However, there is no evidence of this son existing, and there is no trace of him online that I could find. Further, even if Bob does have any children, they are likely at least 20 years old and have moved out by now. Bob's family have never made an appearance online, and if he did have a wife, I feel as though she would have made an appearance or have been referenced by now. While it's unclear what Bob does for a living, he does have a job, which Daniel says is in the medical field. Considering his age and ability to sponsor Daniel the way he does, it's fair to say that he makes a decent amount of money. While the validity of these claims are unproven, Daniel has said that people have called or doxed Bob's place of work in the past, but I couldn't find any evidence of this online besides Daniel's word. Nonetheless, the claims do seem to be reasonable, and I wouldn't put past the trolls to do this. He has claimed on a few occasions that Bob has had to change his work number due to these trolls. He has also said that Bob has a bad reputation at his job due to their relationship.
Okay, so I have some extremely bad news, guys. I have some extremely bad news. My mentor, Bob Proctor, he is saying that because of my reputation, he has to cut ties. Like, his manager at his work is forcing him to cut ties if he wants to continue to work with their company. Apparently it's hurting his reputation for his work. So Bob, my old mentor, has fully 100% cut ties. So I will no longer be in contact with him.
With no apparent family or relatives in the area, he has taken it upon himself to take care of Daniel, albeit at a distance. While they met much sooner, Bob's role became very apparent during the times he was homeless in Denver. After being kicked out of housing, Bob would take Daniel out to eat and would see movies with him. Daniel has said in the past that it's a tradition for him to go out and see a movie together every month. Bob's caretaking extends beyond friendly meetings as well. Bob would drive Daniel to places such as taking him to DDRC or SHIELD to get paperwork done and get him back into housing. He would also occasionally help Daniel with motels, but a notable thing about the relationship is that Bob never let Daniel stay over at his house. It's likely that Bob either had Daniel over and he caused a fit, or is well aware of the potential risk of having Daniel over. Bob probably knows the risks of housing and caring for Daniel more than anyone, considering their proximity. Bob would also help where he could, such as purchasing Daniel a guitar which he never played, as well as storing some of Daniel's miscellaneous items when he was in between housing. Bob likes to keep a distance from Daniel's fame and has not made many appearances on film. There are a handful of pictures of him online that Dan has posted, but Bob has stated on film that he doesn't want to be posted. Still, Daniel has violated this rule a number of times, showing just how uncaring he is of others. One such instance, they're in Bob's car, and he asked if the recording he was making would be posted online, to which he said no. That obviously was a lie. There are other instances, such as in Bob's car or at his house, where Bob states he is uncomfortable with Daniel recording. He has also taken multiple creep shots of Bob at a distance, as he wouldn't let Daniel take any up close consensually. The biggest thing that Bob has helped Daniel with is getting him studio time. Daniel has always had a passion for music and singing, and Bob would buy him studio sessions for him to record songs. Through this, Daniel was able to make 3 studio songs: Roaring Thunder, Something More, and Merry-Go-Round.
Roaring thunder, northern lights, through the night they fly, pounding hearts, epic voices, rising to the sky.
Bob is also in control of his music distribution and control when Daniel gets paid. It seems to cash out, a minimal amount of $3,000 is needed in his account, but he is a far cry from this, with only $50 or so in it as of recently. He also seems to blame Bob for this, and doesn't fully understand that even if Bob wanted to get him paid, he couldn't. Overall, Bob provided a lot of aid and was a much-needed paternal figure to Daniel. Dan would consistently abuse his kindness, however, and took a lot of what he did for granted. If Bob ever didn't do what Daniel wanted, or didn't work with Dan to the extent he needed, he would become angry.
This is a message for Bob, because you sent me to California when I had the warrant, and now I'm stranded. At this point, I will literally destroy me and Bob's friendship and reputation forever to be able to get back in housing. I am now to a point to where I'm furious at Bob for him not helping with my career, even though he's paying to continue with some things, making everything worse. Okay, this is an emergency, but I've lost contact with Bob, and Bob will not answer any of my phone calls. Okay, there's an emergency. Bob just fully blocked my number. I cannot get a hold of him. It says number invalid.
He had gotten into altercations with Bob several times, either arguing verbally or breaking some of Bob's things, such as punching his car. He also showed up to his house at one point, deeply angering Bob, as this could have led the trolls straight to his address. Some of these altercations have turned violent in the past, as Bob has stated on film that Daniel has hit him before. This video is 15 minutes long, so I'll only show a short clip, but I recommend watching the full thing, which will be linked below.
What the fuck?
Get out of my car and quit cussing at me, because I'm afraid of you and you're going to start hitting me again.
No,
and you
what?
will beat me
Whoa,
like you
whoa,
did
whoa,
before.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Get
whoa,
out of my
whoa.
car.
Whoa, what the hell are you talking about?
I'll have to figure out where this place is. If you don't get out right now, I'm calling the police.
No, no, I'm actually concerned for you. I might end up calling myself.
Please do.
Given his statements, it's clear that he is threatened by Daniel and feels forced to help him under threat of violence. This combative nature would ultimately come to a head on December 10th, 2022, in the infamous December 10th incident. After being in motels for the past few days, Daniel had been creating issues with motel staff and managers at various locations, getting into arguments. On this date, Daniel was told, likely by trolls posing as the motel manager, although that is unclear, that they would kill him if he didn't leave the motel. Bob came to get Daniel as he was having a meltdown, and he went live on TikTok. While the details before the stream are hazy, the stream opened with Daniel bloodied and bruised in Bob's car, screaming that the motel, quote, threatened to kill me. He kept hitting himself, prompting Bob to call 911. After being told by Bob that he was going to call the police, Daniel lashed out and hit Bob. Bob didn't fight back, however, but Daniel still alleged that he, quote, broke his arm. Due to his age and frailness, Bob couldn't remove Daniel from the car and could only beg him to leave. Eventually, the police and medics came, but Bob decided not to press charges against Daniel.
Car! Get out of my car, Daniel!
No!
Get the hell out of my car! God damn! Get out of my car!
No, you
Get out
don't
of my car!
understand! You don't... Stop!
Get
It's
out of
not
my
my
car!
fault! It's not my fault! It's
Get
not
out of
my
my
fault!
car!
The motel! The motel! The motel
my
just
car.
threatened to kill me!
Get out of my car!
Stop! The motel threatened to kill me!
Get out of my
No,
car,
I'm not
Daniel!
going to! I'm not going to! I'm bleeding!
Yeah, you're bleeding because you're hitting yourself.
But you
I've
don't...
got to get help. I've got to get help. I've got to call the police.
No, I'm bleeding
I've got
all
to
over
call
me.
the police.
No, the motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me!
I've got to call the police. I've got to get you out of here. Yeah, you've got to get out of my car.
The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me!
And you're trying to kill me.
The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me!
Get out of my car.
No, you don't! I need
Get
help!
out of my car.
I need help! The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me! The motel threatened to kill me!
This is your last chance to get out of my car.
No!
This is your last chance. Then I'm going to call the police.
No, the
tell 'em you're
motel threatened to
beating me.
kill me!
And tell them you're beating me.
No, you hit me! You broke my arm!
I didn't break your fucking arm.
You grabbed me!
Yeah, because you were beating me. You sure this is what you want? I'm calling the police.
Ow! Ow! Ow!
Okay. You're hitting me.
But you're not helping me! The motel threatened to kill me!
Following this outburst, Bob bought Daniel a plane ticket to LA, which is one of the smartest things he could have done in my opinion. He effectively got rid of Daniel and was no longer forced to be his personal servant. Despite this, they seem to have remained in contact since, and Daniel has talked about texting Bob while he was out of state. Part of me believed that Bob might have been replaced by trolls during the World Tour arc, but I have no evidence of this, and recent developments point to otherwise. While Bob remained distant during this arc, a significant development still occurred. Daniel announced that Bob was diagnosed with cancer and was getting treatment. It is unknown what kind of cancer Bob has, and considering Daniel is a compulsive liar who will say extremities to garner sympathy, any speculation is hard. Along with cancer, Daniel has also said that Bob has threatened suicide to gain sympathy, as well as posting about Bob's hardships to get donations.
I just got off the phone with my mentor, Bob, and he says that he just can't take this anymore, and one more issue he's going to do himself in. Whatever that means. Whatever do myself in means, that's, like, literally, that's his words currently. And it was said in phone call.
Daniel has also stated that Bob is going through a hard time financially due to his cancer. While I'm sure his cancer treatment is expensive, the real financial burden was Daniel. Bob likely invested well over $5,000 on Daniel, with a lot of these funds going to his music and plane tickets. Despite their distance, Bob has helped Daniel on a few occasions, helping Daniel buy a phone after his broke, but the full extent of his help during the World Tour arc is unclear. After being in New York for a month and a half, either a troll or Bob got Daniel a plane ticket back to Denver. Once he landed, Bob seemed to have met with Daniel, and they got dinner. He has posted a lot lately on his community tab about hanging out with Bob, which seemingly confirms this. They seem to be on decent terms at this point, and I'm glad to see that Bob is doing well despite his cancer diagnosis. After the December 10th incident, Bob's role in Daniel's life has changed dramatically, and it's clear that the support that he gave to Daniel was the fine line between just getting by and begging for a living. Once he came to LA with no money from Bob, he began posting his Cash App more than ever. Bob likely had a reality check and saw just how toxic Daniel was to him. Bob also seems aware of Daniel's ungratefulness for him and has mentioned this in the past.
We just keep doing this. We have nothing in common anymore, Daniel. You want me to just, the only thing I am to you is somebody to buy stuff for you.
That's not true.
Well, that's what you showed tonight.
Bob likely feels very lonesome, and I'm sure that cutting off Daniel was one of the hardest decisions he had to make. It really is a shame that such a kind and caring man who has given a large portion of his life and money to Daniel has gotten so little in return. The program they met through had no obligation for them to have this sort of relationship, showing just how important he was to Bob.
I did not adopt you. I do not have to.
My entire team has fallen.
Going forward, it is likely that they will still hang out and remain in contact, but I doubt Bob will ever help as much as he did before. Daniel has made claims about Bob getting him studio time again, but until it happens, I won't believe it. A motif in not only Daniel and Bob's relationship, but all of his relationships, is that he misconstrues and misunderstands everything he is told. Most recently, Bob got Daniel tickets to a concert sometime in July in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He claims that these tickets cost $200 each and were gifted to Bob by a friend. Bob allegedly told Daniel that he can't attend due to his cancer. It's really a shame that these tickets are likely going to go to waste, because I don't think Daniel will ever make it to the concert considering its distance and his ineptitude. On Daniel's part, ever since the incident, he has spoken about it a few times. He has claimed to be sorry and felt regretful about it, but I don't think he's being sincere.
And I admit that yes, I hit Bob. Growing up, I didn't have anybody that really cared for me. I didn't have anybody that supported me.
Fans will often mention this incident in his TikTok comments or YouTube community posts, but this usually is only met with a block from Daniel. Daniel really only has used Bob as a way to get sympathy, saying that his cancer is killing him and trying to get fans to give him money to make up for what Bob used to give. Trolls have also told Daniel that he caused Bob's cancer, saying things to the tune of beating Bob caused him to fall ill. Daniel seems to have taken the bait and posted a screenshot on his community tab searching up if cancer is transmissible. Overall, Bob is the most important side character in the Daniel Larson lore, and has been the best thing to ever happen to Daniel. His story shows just how little Daniel cares about anyone but himself, and how big and overinflated his ego is. It really is a shame that Bob was dealt such a shitty hand, and I hope he can recover from his cancer quickly, and finally get the courage to remove Daniel from his life entirely. It's also worth discussing the community's opinion of Bob, which seems to fall into two camps. Everyone can agree that Bob is a good person, but one camp thinks that Bob is a victim, while the other thinks that he's doing this to himself and shouldn't have as much sympathy. I personally think that he's very much a victim. Daniel is a very controlling person and has manipulated Bob into being his personal servant. Bob also has very little family around, and Daniel essentially became a second son to him. Giving up someone you love and helped raise is extremely hard, especially because Bob knows that Daniel fending for himself on his own is an impossible task. By exiling him, he might as well be killing or gravely injuring him. He's trapped in this toxic relationship, and that's why I'm much more sympathetic to him. I would like to thank the Daniel Larson wiki and the Reddit for a lot of the content used in this video, as well as the Daniel Larson curator for a lot of the footage. If you want to stay tuned for more Daniel Larson lore, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. How much can the human body and mind take? What is the line between life and death, and how far can we push it? Is it possible to be immortal? Daniel Larson seems to know the answer to these questions. When it comes to mental and physical health, Daniel Larson is as bad as they come. Coming in at an insane 5 foot 10 inches and 115 pounds, according to the Denver courts, he would seem to be anorexic. For such a small man with an even smaller head, Daniel seems to fit a lot of mental disorders in there. He has a long list of issues, both of the mind and body, that I will go over in a 2-part series. This episode will focus on his mental health and those disorders. Unfortunately, Daniel is a very unreliable source, but he will be the source of a majority of this information. If you want to skip ahead to a specific illness, please check the timestamps below. Before I start, I want to say that I am not a doctor nor am I a psychologist, and my education on this is entirely from Google. If I make any errors, or if you feel like I made a bad diagnosis, please do let me know. I am not stating any of these diagnoses as fact, just speculation on his health. To keep everything consistent, I will be using Mayo Clinic as my main source of information for all of these illnesses. Daniel's poor mental health is his key defining feature. His irritability, insane temper, and his endless paranoia have been key causes of most of his incidents and are likely what brought a lot of you to him and keep you watching. Because a lot of his symptoms can be attributed to a few different illnesses, and because mental illness presents differently for everyone, it can be hard to narrow down a concise list of all his illnesses. Nonetheless, the most prominent of his mental illnesses, which the community seems to think he has, are bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and autism. Daniel has stated in the past that he was diagnosed with both bipolar and autism, but there is no record out there of him having bipolar. However, being autistic is all but confirmed. He has never mentioned being schizophrenic and doesn't seem to think he is, but it seems pretty apparent that he has it. There are lists available online of mental disorders, and a few of them seem fitting, such as BPD. It is also possible that Dan could have ADHD due to his incredibly terrible attention span, among other things. Let's dissect all of these. Bipolar and borderline personality disorder, or BPD, are similar in a few ways. They both relate to emotional instability and can lead to swings of manic and depressive episodes. For a good example of bipolar, you can look at Kanye. A lot of his ramblings and posts resemble Dan's community feed. However, I feel more inclined to say that Daniel would have BPD over bipolar. Bipolar mood swings can last for weeks or even months, and also comes with large depressive episodes. These depressive episodes include low energy, low self-esteem, and suicidal thoughts. Daniel doesn't really seem to face these issues. Yes, he has claimed in the past that he would kill himself innumerable times, but a lot of that was attention seeking to get views and not a genuine cry for help. Take this video of him getting kicked out of a casino, for example. He only mentioned suicide to try to get sympathy from viewers and security, but had no intentions of actually hurting himself.
I was just trying to use the goddamn fucking password, bitch!
Walk. Just walk.
I will kill myself!
Low energy is also something that Daniel never seems to face, and in every video he's always walking, moving, fighting, or shouting. Rarely has there been a low energy Larson. As for self-esteem, if someone like Daniel is convinced that they are dating Grace VanderWaal, do you really think they have a self-image problem? Daniel has stated a few times that he is crying about something, like Grace leaving, but again, I don't think we've ever seen Daniel really cry, and when he says he's crying, it's likely for attention. As for BPD, symptoms include fear of abandonment, unstable relationships, paranoia, impulsive behavior, suicidal threats in response to things, inappropriate behavior when angry, getting into fights. Pretty much all of these are apparent in Daniel. The fear of abandonment is best seen in his relationship with Grace. On the numerous occasions that trolls have convinced him that she was dying or leaving him, he's had breakdowns. At one point, he ran around Denver screaming that there is, quote, a celebrity in the hospital to spread awareness that she was dying. It's definitely the weakest of the symptoms for him, especially because he doesn't really have anyone to lose, but it seems to be present.
There's currently a celebrity in the hospital. We are asking that the information gets loose. Thank you, everyone. Please spread the message. There's currently a celebrity. There's currently a celebrity in the hospital. Please spread the news. There's currently a celebrity in the hospital. Please spread the news. Thank you so much for all of your support.
Daniel's relationship with Bob is quite intense. He will often idolize him, calling him his best friend and his mentor, and even at times he sounds a little grateful to have him around. However, on a dime, he can flip and think that Bob hates him and will lash out. The most notable of this is the December 10th incident, where he beat Bob for not helping him, in his words. He has also called out Bob a few times because he thought Bob was working against him or not supporting him enough.
No, you're not helping me. You're not helping.
You're hitting me.
But you're not helping me. The motel threatened to kill me.
And in Corcoran's Theater parking lot.
The motel threatened to kill me. You don't listen to me. You don't listen to me. The motel threatened to kill me. They said they have a gun.
Daniel's paranoia is also incredible. He will film random people at malls and stores if he thinks that they are fans or trolls. He will claim he's been spotted on a daily basis and will go into lockdown if it's bad enough. He's also incredibly susceptible to being told that someone is coming to harm him, which only exacerbates his paranoia. A lot of these things can be tied to schizophrenia as well, but I think it supports him potentially having BPD. Impulsive behavior is perhaps most in line with Daniel. He has hurt himself to the point of bleeding, thrown his bag of stuff off a cliff, broken multiple headphones out of anger, beaten Bob, and said the N-word more times than I can count. I can make a whole hour-long video on this subject alone. At the slightest inconvenience or smallest bit of anger, Daniel will act rash. He broke his headphones because he missed a bus. He called someone the N-word for being asked to leave their property. He threw his bag of stuff off a cliff because fans were saying mean things on a live stream. None of these actions are in any way proportional to what caused them. Also, considering the fact that his mom and grandma were abused by him when he was young, it's definitely clear that he has major impulse control issues for most of his life. The last few symptoms, suicidal threats, inappropriate behavior, and fighting, also tie into impulsive behavior. He has threatened suicide several times in the past. One of the more notable incidents was when Tina Vanderwall reached out to him to tell him to stop talking about Grace, to which he said he would, quote, end his life tonight. He has never seriously acted on any of these, and the closest he's gotten to killing himself is rageful self-harm. To be honest, I don't think Daniel has the mental capacity to know how to kill himself. I can't see him overdosing on pills, as he refuses to take any to begin with. Tying a noose is way too complex a task for him, and the only feasible way I could see him killing himself is from jumping from a height or being run over. But even then, he has such insane plot armor that I don't even think that could work. Daniel has also fought, or threatened to fight, a few times. During the World Tour arc, he got very combative when asked to leave casino bathrooms, and he nearly threw hands when he was kicked out of an ice cream shop. Daniel rarely has hit anyone, however, and the only two known cases are him hitting Bob and a lady at the aforementioned ice cream shop, although that is not on film. As I said earlier, he is also alleged to have hit his mom and grandma, but that's unsubstantiated. If anyone knows the origin of this rumor, please let me know, because I've seen it floating around for some time. He seems to have a tendency to only punch down. He never dared lay any hands on security guards, but he's very willing to hit Bob, who is 70 years old and frail. Overall, with all these symptoms and his behavior, I believe Daniel has BPD and not bipolar. He may still have it, but without the clear depressive episodes, I'm not so sure on it. Next on the list is schizophrenia. This one is fascinating in my opinion. A major symptom of being schizophrenic is paranoia and believing that something or someone is out to get you. You might believe that you're being gang-stalked or that the government is spying on you. In most people who have schizophrenia, these thoughts are not based in reality, but Daniel Larson is unique. Unlike most, a lot of his delusions are based somewhat on reality. He really does have people following him, searching for him, and spying on him. A lot of his interactions with trolls have naturally made him very paranoid, and that people are out to harass him. As stated earlier, he will film random people he believes are out to get him, which is definitely paranoid behavior. He will tell anyone that talks to him about his fame and trolls, which definitely gives off the strong impression of being schizophrenic, despite this being mostly true. The most paranoid he's ever been was during the World Tour arc, when he was convinced that a white pickup truck was following him everywhere. While he was on a live stream, he hid in a Walmart until he was kicked out. Upon being kicked, by pure coincidence, a white pickup truck was in the lot and he freaked out and fled into a nearby gas station. Again, in a total hilarious string of events, another white pickup truck showed up outside. Here's a brief clip of him at the gas station when this truck showed up. You can tell he's convinced whoever is in the car is going to hurt him, but all of the store attendants only see him as a lunatic.
White car is... car is actually back. Okay.
What are you doing, dude?
Yeah, the white car.
Dude, you're tripping.
No, the white car is actually back.
Where?
Right there.
That's nobody, sir. We're about to close the store down. So, if the cops are not here, you're going to have to leave the store.
Okay.
So, you have to leave the store. If the cops are not coming, you have to leave the store, sir.
Okay,
They're not
okay.
going to do nothing to you, sir.
Alright.
Here's another clip sometime after this meltdown, talking about the truck with someone else. I'm not sure where or when this audio is taken exactly. Also, this audio is not from the video. The original audio was taken from his phone with the camera off, so I sliced on this relevant footage.
There was? That's him. He's followed me I want to say upwards of 2 months now. I've been traveling state to state and he's been following me.
This incident didn't seem to originate from fans either, though many people commented on his livestream trying to get him to act out and confront the driver. Even after he left the city and came to New York, he mentioned the white pickup truck again, pointing to this being a genuine schizophrenic episode that wasn't originated by trolls. I'm not sure if this classifies more into being dumb or into schizophrenic, but he takes a lot of what trolls say seriously, whether it be them saying they called a restaurant he's at, or convincing him he's dating Grace, or that someone is behind him. This sort of delusional thinking falls more into the dumb category in my opinion, but it could also be seen as delusion, which is a symptom of schizophrenia. Another symptom of schizophrenia is disorganized motor and speech behavior, which somewhat relates to Daniel. I think that a few of these symptoms could tie into other illnesses, such as excessive itching from his scabies and rashes, and his tongue thing being a stim for his autism. He still has a few instances of disorganized speech and motor behavior, like the 48 Runs Riverhead incident and pretending to be drunk. Here he is in Denver after having a beer. To be fair, he is only 115 pounds, so it could have hit him very hard, but he's obviously exaggerating a lot of his actions to appear drunker.
Oh, fire robots. Oh, fire. Oh, what's up, mate? How are you doing today? Oh, nice buddy, nice buddy. Oh,
He says a lot of random and stupid things, but again, I really don't think these relate to being schizophrenic as much as they do him being an idiot and trying to get attention. During his world tour arc, when he was in Vegas, he was institutionalized. After he was released, he claimed that the doctors put him on a drug called Latuda. Looking it up, this drug is used to treat schizophrenia, so as far as the doctors were concerned, he has schizophrenia. However, if you just locked up a homeless man who was rambling about being a celebrity, dating Grace Vanderwaal, and was followed by fans, you'd probably give him some Latuda too. Still, given that the doctor's professional opinion seemed to be that he was schizophrenic, I'm definitely inclined to believe that they are right, even with the full context of Daniel's case. Autism is pretty much the lol cow staple, and Daniel is no exception. I'm sure this one is the most self-explanatory of all of them, but I'll go over the indicators in full regardless. There are a number of indicators of autism, and I'll only go over the ones which apply to Daniel. The symptoms I go over are in no particular order. People with autism have a lot of issues in social situations, and these will materialize in symptoms such as inability to retain eye contact, stimming and fidgeting, and generally poor social skills. In the following video of Daniel as a kid, every single one of these symptoms is present.
When I'm in school, to do school and don't never quit, because if you quit, you won't know what to do. And if someone's trying to get you upset, don't let them make you feel bad about yourself. Make your just be good and make yourself feel happy. Act. I want a storm chase when I get older. Hopefully I'll be on the news one day.
Even now, as an adult, he still retains these symptoms. In any video where he is speaking to someone, he fails to maintain eye contact and will play with his hands a lot. He also stims outside the context of socializing, and one of his most notable stims is his tongue-nose thing which he does, usually when he's upset. He's also susceptible to being overstimulated, which results in these stims as well as having emotional outbursts. Another issue with stimulation relates to how sense is perceived. Many people with autism struggle with certain sensations, such as texture and taste of food, or how certain things feel on their skin. Daniel is no different. He seems to have a very limited palate for food, and will usually eat chips, mainly nachos, or wraps and burritos when he goes out to eat. He lacks teeth, which also increases the difficulty of eating certain foods. He also seems to dislike showering. In the past year, he has probably showered less than 10 times, and that's being very generous. The last time he's likely showered was when he was institutionalized, which was around 5 months ago at this point. This clip was taken right after his release, and I suspect he hated the hospital so much because he had no cell phone access and was forced to do things he didn't like, such as shower and take meds. In the video, you can tell he looks cleaner than he did before and his head is shaved, indicating that he was forced to be groomed and cleaned while he was in there.
The psychiatric hospital was like living hell. It was the worst experience.
It's very likely that Daniel doesn't like how water feels on his skin, causing him to go so long without taking showers. Obviously, this lack of hygiene has caused many health issues, but that will be covered in the next episode. People with autism may have other speech symptoms, such as inability to make conversation and repetitive use of certain words and phrases. One good example of his poor conversational skills is when he met Joshua Block, aka World of T-Shirts. In the clips of them together, he appears very uncomfortable, anxious, and struggles to talk with him and Michael Quinn.
Daniel, say hello. This is Joshua Block. Let's see you shake hands. Shake hands, guys. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you, buddy. How you feeling? What's it like to meet Josh in person?
New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. Can't do. Now you're in New York.
Good to see you. Can I get you?
Phone issues at Code Black.
I'm Cole Black, right? At Cole Black.
You're not a Code Black.
How come Pete's Tavern makes such good margs?
They have the best margarita maker in the city.
I always get margs when I'm at Pete's. It's so good.
Yeah.
Do you get the margs there, or do you just get Lagunitas?
Let's see you shake hands again. Thanks for the meetup.
Thanks so much for the meetup.
You know, this is great. I'm glad I was able to orchestrate this, and I think you guys would be good friends, and I think you're going to make some of the best content on TikTok together.
Additionally, he easily gets mad or upset in social situations, causing him to have outbursts. These situations can either be in person or online, but result in him hitting himself, others, or breaking things. When he was with Brink, he was hit by a bicycle, which resulted in him getting very mad and began hitting himself as well as trying to break windows. This sort of irritable behavior is also an indicator of autism. As for repetitive word usage, Daniel has a few phrases that he uses endlessly. Here's an incomplete list of some of my favorite Danielisms. Emergency, lockdown, code rainbow, currently, stay tuned, supposedly, peeing feeling. Another social symptom is failing to understand directions or questions, which is seen in a lot of Daniel's relationships. He often has miscommunications with people like Bob or his case managers like Andrew. He also resists listening to authorities, such as security guards when they tell him to leave places when he's trespassed, like during the World Tour arc. Daniel also very clearly struggles with social cues. He will do or say things that are completely inappropriate to say in conversation without realizing it is making people uncomfortable, and isn't aware how others perceive his words and actions. By far the worst and most cringe-worthy instance of this was during the Roe v. Wade protests, when he described the May 6th incident to a crowd of protesters. I have seen videos of Daniel doing disgusting things to himself, I've seen him beat himself into a bloody mess, I've seen him touch himself, but this video is the one video I cannot sit through fully. It is just so terrible to listen to, but he just keeps going and going and going, and it's definitely the most underrated of Daniel Larson moments. You have to listen to this speech.
Radio. I'm a music artist. I just started my career like about a year ago, but I have a very, very crazy story, very traumatizing story. I'm also on YouTube. I mean, search my name up, you could find me. When I was 18, so I have autism, a very minor case of autism. I'm very well spoken, but I never used to be able to come out in crowds like this and be able to talk like this and be myself. So I'm actually out here right now because I'm in a current lawsuit, court case, because my life is at risk. And I'm going to explain why that happened. I'm going to explain exactly why that happened. So, because of my autism, my grandmother passed away of cancer in 2019.
because of my autism, I live in a disability housing service in the state of Colorado. And I went onto social media about 3 years ago, said I wanted to become a singer. So I came out here because I want this heard. When I was in disability services and I was trying to get myself heard on social media, I had somebody that claimed to be a record label reach out to me. What ended up happening is they wanted me to go on to TikTok Live. I went on to TikTok Live, started my platform. That was around the time when I was gaining about 20 million views per week. They ended up getting me to go onto TikTok Live and go completely nude on live. And at the time, there was 3,000 people in that live. And it went worldwide viral. And it kind of ruined my career because at the time, I was really inspired by a singer named Grace Vanderwall. And at the time, I was around 18 years old. Basically, the reason on why I went nude on social media, and I'm going to try to make this as short as possible, is I was told by this fake management that I was to go nude. It was like an audition for a porn, like a regular adult porn shoot that was going to help my career blow up. They said it would give me tons of views and it would help me out.
Obsessions over certain things is also a defining characteristic of autism, and Daniel's obsession is being famous and dating Grace Vanderwall. While a lot of that is tied to delusions, not so much obsession, his idea of being a celebrity dates back to well before his TikTok era. During his Tenny Cent interview, he stated that he wanted to be on the news someday, indicating that being famous was something Daniel always wanted. He's also obsessed with singing, as noted by his 3 songs, as well as his acting career as a teenager. The reason lol cows tend to be autistic is that their mid-functioning autism causes them to be very malleable and susceptible to influence. Chris Chan was convinced that he was dating all sorts of people. Joshua Block is certain Daniel is running his own tour business, and similarly, Daniel is certain he is dating Grace Vanderwall. They are all very easily manipulated, and it makes them an easy target for trolls. As you can tell, Daniel has innumerable telltale signs of autism, and this isn't even scratching the surface. It goes without saying, not only for autism, but all the other mental illnesses that I have brought up, that having any of these does not make you a bad person. I personally do not struggle with any of these, so if I have used language that you think is harmful or used words that sound bad, please do let me know. Obviously, I don't want to spread hate, and just because Daniel Larson has these illnesses doesn't make anyone else having them a bad person or just like him. Daniel is a very special character and does not reflect an overwhelming majority of people with mental illness. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but I believe Daniel Larson may also have ADHD. ADHD's biggest indicator is low attention span, which Daniel seems to perhaps have. We don't really have many interactions with Daniel that span over a long period of time, so gauging attention over long periods of time is a little hard here. The best instance that I could find of this is his Discord Q&A sessions that he's had. I was present during one of these sessions a few months ago where he was in a Discord stage call with a few managers who got audience members to ask Dan questions. You can actually find the full Q&A on Perk30's channel if you are curious. During this interview, Daniel struggled to stay in the call for more than 10 minutes at a time and would frequently leave to talk to his management or do other things. While this one instance doesn't mean that he has ADHD, other behaviors indicating short attention span, like his uncomfortableness in long conversations, also points to this. Another indicator is poor time management and planning skills. When Daniel has had an appointment or meeting such as at DDRC or at SHIELD, he is usually late in arriving and will not think of a proper way to get there. When he's had court proceedings, he's either intentionally or unintentionally missed them, largely due to either terrible planning or trying to evade punishment. Recently, in New York, he had a Greyhound ticket which was seemingly 5 miles away from his location, when the bus was scheduled to leave in around 30 minutes. Daniel had not planned a way to get there in time and missed that bus, which led to him destroying his headphones.
fucking gun.
People with ADHD may also have a hard time regulating emotions and can be irritable, which Daniel very much is. As stated before, when he is stressed or overstimulated, he can very easily lash out. Overall, it's not as strong a diagnosis as other issues I've mentioned, but it's definitely a feasible issue that Daniel may be facing. It's really hard to tell because a lot of the other illnesses he struggles with may have overlapping symptoms, which could be making it appear as though he has ADHD. In truth, we can't really know, and unless Daniel goes to a psychiatrist, I doubt we will ever know for certain. This one is also unconfirmed, but it's likely Daniel could have mild PTSD. When Daniel was a child, he was neglected and abused by his mother, which led to him being placed in the Tennyson Center, which specialized in treating children from neglectful homes. Daniel has described some of this abuse in the past, but it's hard to tell if he's lying or not. Nonetheless, here's one of those instances in his own words.
Did you know that one time my mother and me, when I was younger and I lived in California, were making my bed? It was a bunk bed and my mother wanted me to help and I didn't know how to, so she got the hammer and hit my hand with the hammer.
Even if this statement is false and he's lying, he definitely was abused as a child. He doesn't present with some of the notable symptoms of PTSD though, such as flashbacks and nightmares. Still, I think some of his anxious and paranoid behaviors can be linked to PTSD, such as him constantly believing people are out to harass him. I think that being placed in a care home helped Daniel cope a lot with his traumatic childhood, which overall lessened the severity of these symptoms. Additionally, it's been more than a decade since he was in the center, so I'm sure a lot of the childhood traumatic wounds have healed up since. I'm adding this one mostly as a joke, but he's talked about it enough in the past that it might be a reality. Gender dysphoria. People with gender dysphoria might feel as though they are born in the wrong body, and Daniel has several times announced that he is transgender.
Hello, this is Daniel Larson, and this is Transgender Awareness Month. Because it is Transgender Awareness Month, I am transgender. Please stay tuned. Please help us out. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Odds are, this was him coming out because trolls told him to, but it's too funny to not include on this list. Now, for this final one, I'm not sure if it's considered a mental illness or what, but it's definitely worth mentioning in my opinion. Pedophilia. Now, as I said earlier, you can have mental illnesses and still be a good person, but I hope it's clear to all of you that is absolutely not the case with pedophilia. There's no justification for it, and I have no sympathy for pedophiles, including Daniel. People try to justify or rationalize his pedophilia by saying that trolls convinced him to do or say things, but Daniel has stated himself that he is a pedo and knows that he has done bad things and continues to do things wrong.
I admit that I am a pedophile.
He clearly knows that this behavior is despicable, and he still continues to say these nasty things. I'll probably end up making a whole separate video on this topic alone, as Daniel's pedophilic history is insanely long, but I'll boil it down to some of the key points. For as long as Daniel's been on the internet, he has been obsessed with Grace Vanderwall. When he first mentioned her, she was still a minor, and he was at least 20 years old. He continues to talk about Grace to this day, and even though she is an adult now, the Grace in Daniel's head is a minor version. On several occasions, Daniel's gallery or search history has been leaked, revealing pictures of Grace as a literal child, as well as vulgar searches that I will not repeat related to Grace. He also had a Pinterest account leaked that had several vile, disgusting folders on it. While he claims he didn't do the Pinterest or that it was hacked, it's fairly apparent that this Pinterest account was his. In it, he had numerous folders of young girls categorized by various things.
I created the Pinterest as a way to go viral.
The Pinterest is a way. Wait, sorry. Could you explain? Could you just repeat that?
Yeah, so I made the Pinterest as a way to go viral at that time.
Of course, it's a smart way, right?
Yeah, and then I told the fans that, like,
it was Flexburger, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And not Flexburger, but you know what I mean. I threw it off.
It was a bunch of them. It was a lot of them.
But then when it went viral, it did actually get hacked. So that is the truth.
Yeah, it got worse.
And then it got worse.
Yeah. What about
Another incredibly disturbing thing that Daniel has done was touch an underage girl. While the full context of this following clip is unknown, Daniel very clearly pins down a young girl onto a bed. Fortunately, I don't think he did anything besides that, but nonetheless, it was disgusting. He was removed from that home sometime after, though I'm unsure if his pedophilic nature was the reason why, or if it was attributed to trolls or anger issues. This really only grazes the surface of his pedophilic nature, but there is an excellent post on the Reddit that summarizes a lot of this very well. Without any doubt in my mind, Daniel is a pedophile. No ifs, ands, or buts. He has said these nasty comments for so long and so consistently that blaming this behavior on trolling is just delusional. There is no justification for this behavior, and he knows it. It always shocks me to see people, usually on TikTok, talk about how they wish people would stop hating or shitting on Daniel. He is a self-admitted predator and does not deserve anyone's sympathy. In the past, he has received treatment for a few of these illnesses. He was likely on some medications when he was in the housing in the Tennyson Center, taking mood stabilizers. He doesn't seem to like taking pills and finds them too disruptive to his normal routine, causing him not to take them properly. As mentioned before, he was also put on Latuda when he was institutionalized in Las Vegas, but he wasn't on the drug long enough to experience any significant positive changes. I am unaware of any other pills he may have taken, but he has had therapy in the past to help with his mental health. For a long time, he had a therapist named Tiffany, though he didn't seem to understand how a therapist worked. He seemed to think that Tiffany was a part of his, quote, team, and was there as a person to help with his career and give him advice, rather than help him learn positive coping mechanisms. He worked with Tiffany up until around fall of 2022 and seems to have stopped talking with her since. He recorded their meeting on one occasion and also posted a few screenshots of their texts on now deleted accounts.
What would you like to talk about?
I'm not going to be involved. What I will talk about is I will talk about getting the numbers for my services and the probation officer. And I will be more than happy to talk about the other situations. But I'm not going to sit here and continue to play these games and continue to go nowhere for another year. I'm not going to sit here and do that.
I am also sure that he had counseling and therapy while at the Tennyson Center to help him cope with his neglectful childhood, as that is what the center specialized in. I'm not sure to what extent it helped him, but the Tennyson Center video showed him to be fairly stable. I think because he doesn't take his meds anymore, and because he doesn't have a stable care system, he has devolved into a much more unwell person ever since. A lot of people speculate that Daniel may use drugs. There are way too many posts online on the Reddit asking if he does any, and the answer is no. Firstly, he is broke. He does not have the money to buy any drugs. Secondly, I don't think he would know how to use drugs. I don't think he would be able to do lines of coke or smoke any sort of joint or pipe, and he certainly wouldn't be able to find a vein for heroin. At best, he could take pills. Finally, I don't think he wants to take drugs. He has spoken out against weed in the past, and judging on his video of him in the elevator with addicts, he seems uncomfortable around people who use drugs. The only substance Daniel has ever done is alcohol. Occasionally he will have a beer or two, but he has never gotten more than tipsy. He will act like he's super drunk after he drinks, but it's just for attention. Unlike World of T-shirts, he doesn't seem to want to party or get blacked out, and at least he knows when to stop. I think if he had the money, he definitely could fall into addiction, but for the time being, I don't see that happening. Overall, Daniel's mental health will continue to worsen as he continues to stay off his meds and trolls harass him. If Daniel wants any hope of becoming stable, he needs to find housing again, as having housing and a regular schedule will bring a much needed stability to his life. He also needs to be off the internet for good so trolls can't reach him. He should seek help, both physically and mentally, from people who are there for him, whether it be someone like Bob or a case manager like Andrew. However, he is a chronic narcissist and will never listen to anyone who tries to help him. Ultimately, I think Daniel is a lost cause, and shy of being permanently institutionalized for committing a crime, I doubt he will get any form of meaningful treatment. And with that, this brings the video to a close. I really have enjoyed doing these Daniel Larson videos, and I want to continue doing more. There are a lot of great recap channels out there, like Perk30, so I don't want to do more videos like that because people are already doing a great job with those. Instead, I want to do more videos like this, where I talk about a specific thing in the Daniel Larson lore. I have a Grace video in the works, but I want to give it more time to cook, but if there are any other videos you want, please let me know, such as an incident or a character overview. Hopefully, I'll have the physical health video up by next week, but I've been busy with school and work, so we'll see. As per usual, I want to thank the Reddit, the wiki, and the curator for a lot of the stuff I've used in this video. If you want to see more stuff like this, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. It will really help me be able to make more content like this and reach more people. And until next time, stay tuned. How would you define peak athleticism? Perhaps Usain Bolt and his record-breaking sprint comes to mind. Or maybe you prefer endurance and Ulid Kipchoge's fastest marathon time trumps over. It could be that you think strength matters over endurance, and Danny Grisby's 1,000-pound deadlift impresses you. Or maybe a mix of strength and endurance, and combat sports are what pique your interest, and you see Bruce Lee as a king of athleticism. While I agree, all of these men are incredible in their own regards in sports, there is one person who trumps over all of them, who can run at breakneck speeds, complete marathons, can display incredible feats of strength, and can stand their own in combat. That person would be Daniel Larson. This video is the second part of a two-part series on Daniel Larson's health. The first video covered his mental health, and this one will focus on his physical health. You do not need to watch the first one to understand this one or watch this one, so don't worry if you haven't seen it. If you're only interested in a particular thing about Daniel's health, feel free to use the timestamps in the description. There's a lot to cover, and a lot of it is also pretty gross, so be warned. While Daniel's mind is likely what got you interested in him, his body is almost just as impressive. Daniel stands at a sturdy 5 foot 10 inches and weighs an incredible 115 pounds per the Denver court. Note that this data comes from nearly a year ago, and I suspect he may be even skinnier by now. I said this in the first video, but it's worth saying it again. I am not a doctor, and every claim I make about Daniel's health is speculative. I'm making these videos more so as a cumulative video for people to get immersed into Daniel, and not so much a complex analysis of his health that is 100% factual. Further, a lot of information is straight from Daniel's mouth, so take a lot of what is sourced from him with a healthy plate of salt. The information presented in this video is not going to be presented in chronological order. I will do my best to make this video digestible, but I'm opting to go over each illness individually rather than chronologically, as I feel it's nicer this way and makes more sense. I apologize in advance if this video gets a little confusing at times because of this. Also, I'm sure I'm going to miss some things, as there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of issues that he may be facing internally, and we just aren't aware of them by nature of them being inside of him with minimal outward-facing symptoms. Before we get into his ailments, we need to talk about two things: his hygiene and his aversion to treatment. I talked about these in the previous video, but I'll go over these again here. Daniel hates showering, or any form of cleaning himself for that matter. In the last 6 months, he's likely showered less than 10 times, and that's incredibly generous. The last time he's had a shower as of making this video is likely when he was in Las Vegas 2 or 3 months ago and was institutionalized. He said that being in there was living hell, and he likely states this because he was forced to clean and get treatment. He seems to hate showers because he doesn't like how they feel. Many people with autism struggle with certain sensations, and Daniel doesn't like to take a shower because of this. Beyond showers, he lacks hygiene in general. He doesn't seem to wash his hands ever, as seen by his nails. He doesn't trim his nails, his hair, or his beard, which makes him look incredibly disheveled. He will go for months on end in the same outfit. For example, throughout the World Tour arc, he wore the same brown jacket with a Hollywood shirt. Adding on to this, he will wear a jacket regardless of the temperature. When he arrived in Denver last month, he received a nice new jacket from Bob, and has been wearing it ever since, despite the warmer weather outside. Being homeless also doesn't help, as he has limited access to showers, soap, deodorant, and has to sleep in dirty locations such as subway stations. When he met up with Josh, aka World of T-Shirts, he mentioned that he was sleeping in a particular New York City train station, which is probably one of the dirtiest places you could rest.
Oh, you sleep? You have a hotel room?
I've been staying at the Fulton.
Oh. Like,
you know that train
yeah.
station? Yeah.
What,
Fulton.
you sleep in the train?
I don't sleep in the train, but I sleep
on the subway tunnel.
Pretty much, yeah, because it's got security there, 24/7.
What, do you sleep? You sleep in the subway station? What, they stole your phone?
All of these hygiene issues have been the chief cause of many of his illnesses and problems, such as scabies and trench foot. If he were to have a home and take even just bi-weekly showers, a lot of these issues would have been prevented. The second issue that exacerbates his terrible condition is his aversion to healthcare and treatment. On several occasions, he has been hospitalized or went to the doctor, such as to look at his trench foot or treat his rashes. In all of these cases, if he was prescribed a pill or any other treatment, he would not take it. There are two possible explanations for this. One is that he's broke, and even if he wanted to take a prescription, he doesn't have the money for it. Or two, he hates taking drugs or listening to authority. Either way, his resistance to getting help has made his problems worse, and made him into the walking shit stick he is now. With that out of the way, let's get into his health. I'll start off this list with his most notable and hilarious ailment: scabies. Scabies is a skin condition where small mites burrow under the skin, which causes irritation and rashes. This can lead to excessive itching, and left untreated, this can become a serious infection. The condition may be slow to become apparent, and because the mites are small and under the skin, it can be confused with common rashes. Scabies is caused by contact with someone who has scabies, or an article of clothing which the mites live on. The mites can be killed through washing of the clothes, as well as special lotions to kill the mites on your skin. Daniel was diagnosed with scabies sometime in January, announcing this on now deleted TikToks. Ever since, he has had obvious skin problems and rashes, which can likely be attributed to this. Daniel was given a prescription medication based on what he said, which was a pill. While lotion is often used, scabies can also be killed using an oral medication. The drug of choice for this is usually ivermectin, which is an anti-parasite drug. While Daniel was only administered one dose, ivermectin is supposed to be taken in multiple doses throughout the duration of a week to a month, depending on the severity of the mites. Daniel only took one though, so it's likely that the drug didn't get its full effect. It's unclear if Daniel still has scabies today exactly, but considering he continues to have rashes and itches a lot, as well as hasn't showered or changed clothes, it's fair to assume that he does. It's hard to know exactly how he got scabies, as he doesn't really hang out with many people in close proximity. My guess would be that he slept on the ground where other homeless people have slept and managed to contract the mites that way. He posted a video in the past of him sleeping in the elevator with addicts, and he could have gotten scabies from something like that. The scabies have now become a running joke in the community. If Daniel ever posts something schizophrenic sounding, people will comment that the scabies told him that. People have made posts on the Reddit claiming to be the mites and doing AMAs. Even though that he said that doctors diagnosed him with scabies when he first announced it, he has walked back on this since, saying stuff to the tune of, "I don't have scabies." It's bizarre how unwilling he is to deal with the seemingly easy-to-overcome illness. A lotion and a daily shower is not terribly hard work, even for someone who's homeless like he is. He's been given soap before, as well as other hygiene products, and truck stop showers cost around $10. Sure, money is tight for Daniel, but he does seem to get a decent amount of donations, and even a shower every other day would work wonders. Still, it's likely that his aversion to shower is connected with his autism that is the root cause of this. He doesn't like how they feel and would rather live with scabies than do something about it. I'm surprised that the scabies haven't gotten worse at this point, or that he hasn't gotten an infection, especially because he itches himself with his shit-crusted nails. But who knows, maybe the scabies jumped ship after seeing how vile their living conditions were and Daniel is now cured. Therefore, no infection. The second most notable illness that Daniel has is trench foot. You heard that right. No, Daniel isn't stuck in 1918, nor is he a soldier. Rather, he has such terrible hygiene that his feet have begun rotting. Before I get deeper, I will be showing pretty nasty images of Daniel's feet in this segment, so tune out and skip to the next timestamp if that isn't for you. On top of trench foot, he also has a ton of other foot issues that I'm going to talk about here. From what he has posted online and so graciously shown us, he seems to have trench foot, fungal infections, blisters, corns and calluses, but regardless, all of the issues stem from the same things: poor hygiene, excessive walking, and never changing shoes and socks. Similarly to how never changing his shirt and pants made his scabies worse, he also never changes his shoes or socks. Naturally, keeping the same shoes on all day long and never taking them off to sleep either will lead to complications. On top of that, because he is homeless, Daniel has to walk everywhere, which accumulates mileage up pretty fast. I'd guess that on an average day, he would walk upwards of 3 miles, on the low end. This has led his socks to become incredibly sweaty and dirty, leaving him prone to all sorts of foot issues. He has posted pictures of his nasty shoes and socks on his feed before, and seems to be aware of the issue. He's also used this as a reason to beg, saying that he needs a certain amount of money to buy shoes and socks. Of course, when he does get this money, it goes straight into stocks and nachos. Daniel has made good on his promise a few times though, and recently bought a pair of fresh socks. However, it's unclear if he actually wears these new socks, or if he's just doing this to show off. I'm fairly sure that he's thrown out these new socks by now, and yes, he does have a backpack currently, but knowing how thoughtless he is, I doubt that he has any socks in there, and if he does, I don't think he is ever going to put them on. He has also gotten singlet pairs of fancy socks, and yet never seems to wear those either. It could be similar to his aversion to showers, and a change like this could be something that he's uncomfortable with, regardless of the consequences. That, or he just doesn't really care about if his foot rots off. All of these have culminated to make his feet as they are now. In August of 2022, after being homeless for a few months, he went to the hospital where he's diagnosed with trench foot.
Hello everyone, so my name is Daniel Larson. I just got out of the emergency room and the doctor told me that I have what they call trench foot. And trench foot is a condition to where your foot sweats or gets wet and it doesn't breathe, and so your foot over time becomes spongy versus your skin being normal, and it creates massive amount of pain. So they're telling me to get a hotel room and get off my feet for at least a month. They're saying that this has been going on, from the way it looks like, for at least a year.
Trench foot is caused by feet being in moist conditions for long periods, which causes them to turn spongy, tingly, and numb, and can also be incredibly painful. He showed off his feet in a live stream shortly after the diagnosis. You can see in this video that he has these black spots on his feet, and they look fairly painful. I will give him credit though, I was expecting it to be worse. It's unclear if he got any medications for it, such as an antifungal or antibacterial meds to prevent infection, but he was told to stay off his feet for the next few months and get new socks and shoes, which he never did. Also, he claimed that the doctors told him that he had trench foot for around a year, which seems a little extra. Daniel had only been homeless for around a few months at this point, and before leaving housing, he didn't really get much exercise in. I suspect it was just that the case looked so bad and severe that it appeared as though he had been on his feet for so long. Additionally, shortly after, Daniel's feet apparently began bleeding, as he posted a video of himself limping and leaving a trail of blood. I do feel like this may have been an attention-seeking thing, as the blood doesn't really look fresh or real. It looks more like spilled juice than blood, but it could be the lighting. Also, if his foot had an injury this severe, there's no way that he wouldn't develop an infection, which he never did. After being evicted in November of 2022, he went to the hospital complaining about his legs and feet being numb and tingly. He got an IV, and the doctors got a look at his feet. The doctors didn't see his feet as having a serious issue requiring him to stay, but did recommend for him to see a neurologist for his issues. He was then discharged shortly after. There is an hour-long live stream of this on YouTube, but most of it is not worth watching. I couldn't find him getting any meds during this visit, though I maybe have missed that.
Started after last night or started last night?
It started last night, and it's been kind of feeling like numbness in my legs.
Okay, alright. How do your feet feel?
About the same.
About the same, okay. Alright. Is anything else bothering you?
Not really. I've been homeless. I came over to the airport this morning to go to Canvas Credit Union.
Okay, alright. I'm still listening. Sorry, just gotta back up. I'll have you come this way, okay?
Okay.
It would also seem as though he has some sort of fungal infection, which is completely unsurprising. You can see that his toenails are a bright yellow color, indicative of a fungal infection. He seems to have initially developed this in housing in October 2022, as seen in this video. He retained this fungal infection after being evicted, as you could see this during the time in LA, around when he got trench foot. Similar to trench foot, foot fungus will arise in warm and wet conditions and will only get worse with poor hygiene. It can cause the toenails to become yellow and get thicker, and without treatment, it can become painful and turn into an infection. It seems that he may have lost and regrown several toenails in the past because of this. With Daniel not getting any treatment for this, and him having a fungal growth for at least a year, I'm surprised he hasn't gotten sick from it. The feet are especially susceptible to infection due to circulation, and with how much pressure Daniel's feet get, that's only worsened. To still have all his toes at this point is crazy. Beyond this, his excessive walking has also caused him to have a lot of wear and tear on his feet, resulting in calluses and blisters. I'm not certain on the exact date that this was posted, but I believe it was sometime around the time he was in LA. You can see how giant his blister is. His shoes probably don't fit well, and they're extremely worn down, causing severe irritation to his skin, resulting in this blister. You can also see blotches of dirt on his foot, as well as how disgusting both his finger and toenails are. I'm not sure if this video was posted after the one I showed before, but he also posted another video while homeless, showing the same part of his heel with what looks to be an infected blister. There appears to be pus where the blister was before, and knowing Daniel, after he caressed the blister the way he wishes he could grace, he got himself a nasty infection. Also, notice just how nasty his socks are in this video. They look like literal rags. Seeing as Daniel still has his foot, the infection seemed to have resolved on its own. A true testament to Daniel's resilience. After that, the next good look at his feet was in January, where a fan seemed to have found Daniel and gotten a video of his feet. They look absolutely gnarly and grimy. It seemed that his big toenail is partially broken, either due to the fungus or him picking at it. You could also see that his socks have massive holes in them and are practically useless. He also had a very inflamed ankle for a short while around this time as well, which worried a lot of fans as it may have been a serious infection, though the issue did seem to resolve on its own. A few months later, in April 2023, he posted another video of his foot, this time showing the underside of it. You can see that his flesh looks very tender from all the walking, and that his toes look very spongy, which is likely the trench foot. You can also see tens of blisters that have been popped. Finally, around the same time, he also posted a picture of the sole of his foot, with what appears to be a wart. I couldn't tell myself, but someone on the Reddit who claims to be a nurse says it was a plantar wart, so thank you Alm0925 for that. Plantar warts are caused by HPV, which can cause fleshy wounds in the bottom of the feet. To be properly removed, there are over-the-counter remedies, but usually liquid nitrogen is used to freeze them off. Without this treatment, they can either heal very slowly or can spread further. While he hasn't posted about his foot ever since, I'm sure that this wart is still hanging on to Daniel, or maybe we'll see it again soon. Overall, Daniel's feet have probably taken the worst beating compared to any other part of his body. The amount of walking he does, with a lack of hygiene and clean clothes, makes for nasty conditions that only breed disease. Again, I'm shocked that he hasn't gotten a serious infection, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time at this point. Being homeless has had effects on other parts of his body besides his feet. Being exposed to the elements all day, specifically the sun, has taken a massive toll on his body. People will mistakenly assume that he's 20 to 30 years older than he is because of how rough his skin is. His face is distinctly wrinkled and red at all times, and during the summer he often gets severe sunburns. Daniel has been fully homeless since December 2022, but before this brief housing stint in October, he was homeless from about May to October. So in total, in the past year, he has been out of housing for around 11 months. Unlike most people who would seek homeless shelters or look for a good place to set up camp, Daniel decided that photosynthesis would be the best way about living. At every opportunity, he will spend time outdoors and in the sunlight. This led him to wandering aimlessly for miles in the summer heat, which often exceeded 80 degrees. Firstly, this prolonged sun exposure with no sunscreen caused severe sunburns to a large portion of his body, which you can see in several photos of him during the summertime. This has given him an accelerated aged look and makes him much more wrinkly. His skin during the summer is very red, and there are bits of skin peeling off which he scratches at. While he has never had very severe sunburns, the longer that he continues to be homeless and exposed to the elements like this, the more he risks an infection, severe burn, or skin cancer. Though, I doubt he'll be around long enough to get any form of cancer. But more importantly, this sun and heat exposure has given him heat exhaustion. While it's unclear if he was faking this for sympathy in the following video, I'm inclined to believe that he's being serious. In the video, he is moaning and appears to be in distress. After a second, he stops moaning and seemingly falls unconscious. Around 5 minutes later, he wakes up and seems very confused and distorted as to what happened. You can see that his face is very pale and his lips are extremely blue.
Holy shit. Oh my god. Oh. Holy fucking hell. Oh. What just happened? Oh my god.
Heat exhaustion is caused by being in the heat for too long and losing too many fluids and electrolytes. On top of being outdoors all day long, it's well known that Daniel rarely drinks water, so he easily becomes dehydrated. Heat exhaustion presents itself in rapid and weak heart rate, cool, pale, and clammy skin, low blood pressure, fatigue, dizziness, and could lead to fainting. If left untreated, it could eventually lead to heat stroke, which can kill you. Daniel appeared to have a few of these symptoms, though it's unclear if he got any treatment for it. He claimed to have called the paramedics, though I couldn't find any videos of him in the hospital or ambulance afterwards. Again, just like with his feet and scabies, I'm genuinely surprised that he hasn't gotten hospitalized or killed by heat stroke. With how much time he spent outside in the summer heat, with no water and excessive exercise, it's shocking that he's still standing and only gotten heat exhaustion once. On top of sunburns and scabies, it seems that Daniel may have developed other rashes not caused by the other two ailments. I'll leave this section brief as there aren't many pictures of his rashes, and I'm in no way qualified to identify a rash based upon a few pictures. Recently, Daniel posted a set of pictures of his arm on his community tab, showing that he had a rash and very peely skin. It's unclear what could have caused this rash. It could have been a sunburn as the weather is warming up, or maybe it could have been psoriasis. I don't think it's the scabies, however, as the scabies rashes he posted earlier in the winter were very much different in texture and appearance. Regardless, again, this rash definitely could have been avoided with proper hygiene and care, but that goes without saying. There are probably more pictures of Daniel's skin, but after scouring the Reddit and Wiki for a while, I couldn't find anything new or unique. While we're talking about his skin, it's also worth going over the handful of notable cuts, scrapes, and abrasions he's gotten over the years. There are quite a lot of them, but I'll go over the ones that are more notable. While in housing, he would consistently punch walls and windows, which led to small cuts and bruises on his hands. In this last housing stint, he decided to bash his head directly into a wall, leading to a mark on the top of his head. This would become well known as the October 16 incident, which was marked by copious amounts of self-harm, destruction of property, and yelling. Here are some clips of him hitting himself.
Oh, my fucking career! Oh, do you see your head?
You straight up, listen to me!
Stop! Hey!
Listen to me!
Hey!
You need to listen to me rather than interrupt my goddamn shit!
No, because what you're doing right now is just, hey, chill out.
You straight up, listen to me!
No. I called the phone. It's over. You're gonna stop doing that. Hey!
You guys are not cooperating at all!
You're not cooperating!
Only a few months later, on December 10th, he would have a fit after being threatened by someone and would proceed to beat himself and Bob. He appears to have severely hurt his nose here to the point of bleeding. He did get medical treatment for this, but it doesn't seem as though he broke his nose. I won't show the full clip, just a very brief section as I already put a longer clip in the previous video.
Get out of my car!
It's not my fault! It's
Get
not
out
my
of my
fault!
car!
The motel just threatened to kill me!
Yeah, you've got to get out of my car.
The motel threatened to kill me! The motel...
Calling the police. Okay.
While he got all sorts of bumps and bruises during his world tour arc, his most notable injury was what the fans called scabfrica. On his first night in New York, he was followed into a bodega by two trolls, who got him agitated. After causing a scene, the clerk kicked him out of the store, which caused him to get very upset. At the time, he was on the phone with trolls pretending to be the Vanderwall team, who told him to attack and spit on the clerk. He complied, which led him to getting his ass handed to him. While there are no full videos of this incident, there is audio in the aftermath.
It truly is.
Do you know how to defend yourself?
Yeah, I do, but I've already punched the security guard.
You already punched him?
Yeah, I did. I had to self-defend myself.
Yeah.
This product is not public. You need to walk out right now.
Yes,
Right now.
the police are on their way.
Right, you wait for the police outside. Let's go.
I'm not going to do that because the police told me to wait here.
Get the fuck out.
I have you on
Get out.
film. I have
Get
you
out.
on film.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out.
I have you on film, bitch. I have you on film, bitch.
Daniel, defend yourself.
Daniel, get back at him.
Defend yourself, Daniel.
Fuck you, bitch.
Spit on him, Daniel.
You're gonna get arrested. Hey.
I have you on film.
You're not.
I saw his camera.
I'm injured.
You're injured?
I'm fucking injured.
Show us. What is happening?
The guy fucking tackled me to the ground.
Did you spit on him?
I had to hit him for protection.
Oh my god. Wait, show us. What happened?
Did you run away? Put your camera on. We have to
My
record.
knee is bleeding.
Oh my god.
Daniel, put your camera on.
Where did you get hit?
I'm going to have a black eye. I can't tell.
So, this is what I look like after I got assaulted by two fans in New York City in 2023. Fortunately, I don't have any fractures that I know of. I did have a fairly good-sized cut on my nose, but that's about it.
Following the takedown, he ended up with a scrape on his nose that resembled Africa. He proceeded to go to the hospital, and while he did get bandages on his nose, he didn't break it. In the weeks following the incident, he kept picking at the scab, and also eating it, it seems, which led it to taking a long time to heal. Eventually, it did begin to shrink, though it did make a brief comeback around the time he was in Denver. Again, considering how dirty his nails are, I'm shocked that he didn't get an infection or have to have a nose amputation and look like Voldemort. You can see from the first 2 clips in this section that Daniel is very prone to self-harm. The mental health element of this was talked about in the previous video, but physically, this has led to him getting a lot of bruises and bleeding from him hitting himself. He has never used anything to hurt himself, such as a knife or razor to cut himself or a blunt object to hit himself, but he has been able to do considerable damage. He likes to hit the top of his head, which has led to a spot that looks like it's almost balding. It's redder than the rest of his scalp, and it's clear that all the self-harm has caused him damage. There are certainly more instances of injuries, but I don't think any of us care about a minor cut from stupid bullshit. These are just the most interesting cases worth talking about. Daniel has a very unique smile. By now I'm sure that you've noticed he has quite a number of teeth missing. His unique set of teeth often convey the energy of a bunny rabbit. I didn't notice this until I was doing this video, and I feel like it's some sort of Mandela effect, but his 4 bottom front teeth are gone. I feel like I'm tripping or something, because I feel like I've seen them before.
Who wants to see my ugly bottom teeth? They're so ugly. Ready? I don't have any bottom teeth, folks. I don't have any.
From what is visible, his canines and bottom teeth are completely gone. You will see him do this unique grandma with no dentures face from time to time, which is only made possible by this unique dental array. As for why he has no teeth, that's fairly obvious. It seems that ever since he was placed in a care home after his grandma passed, that he completely stopped brushing. This would have been around 6 years ago in 2017. Due to this, he eventually developed cavities and lost those teeth. Ever since, he has only used a toothbrush once on film, but I don't think I could show that video here. As for current dental health, he hasn't complained about any teeth pains or potential cavities in the past few months, so it seems like even the bacteria don't want to take up shop in Daniel. In all seriousness though, I'm sure he does have cavities, but they might take some time to fully decay into his tooth. I'm not a dentist, and I can't really speak to how they form or at the rates they do so, but I can assume that it's only a matter of time before he loses more teeth. Because he lacks so many teeth and his eating habits due to his autism, he has a very narrow diet. He will usually only eat nachos, wraps, burritos, chips, or smoothies when he goes out to eat. I imagine other foods must be harder for him to chew, though I feel like chips and nachos would be very uncomfortable with fewer teeth. It's unclear for certain when the last time he brushed was, though. While in New York, he did get a new toothbrush and posted a video with it. He never showed any toothpaste or any brush out of container, so I don't think he actually used it. Another unique feature of Daniel's face is his eyes. In many videos, he'll have a nasty-looking pink eye infection. While it's never gotten too serious to need medical attention, it still reflects his nastiness. He'll consistently rub and itch his eyes with his dirty hands, prompting these infections. Additionally, Daniel's pupils are always very small. It could be that he's consistently outside and in the sun, but even indoors they are uniquely tiny. Some people have speculated that it could be due to a mental disorder such as schizophrenia, but I'm unsure. Either way, it's never been serious, and it doesn't seem to have a significant impact on his vision. While on the subject, it doesn't seem like Daniel needs glasses. He seems to have fairly decent vision, though he does struggle with reading. He will often point out things in the far distance while on live streams, such as white trucks from a mile away. He never had glasses in the Tennyson Center video or any other young Daniel content, so it's fair to assume that he has decent vision. Back on the subject of diet, Daniel's physique is incredible. He weighs around 115 pounds at 5'10", and that was while he was in housing. There are innumerable pictures of him nude or shirtless that show off his body over time, but even before all these pictures were taken of him as an adult, he was a very scrawny child and teen. You could tie this into abuse and neglect, but I'm not sure. Ever since being homeless, I'm sure he's even lost more weight. He has limited access to food now and has to walk everywhere he wants to go, leading him to have an insane caloric deficit. Still, he has made up for this with daily dine-in dashes. However, he has been more reluctant to post any meals he's had lately due to fear of doxing, so it's unclear what sort of meals he's eaten in the past 2 months. If it's anything like the first part of his homeless arc, his meals largely consist of nachos, but he rarely finishes any plate. In addition to not getting enough calories, he probably doesn't get the necessary nutrients that he needs. This will lead to a weaker immune system and a weaker heart. This can also lead to vitamin deficiencies, such as vitamin C deficiency, which can cause fatigue, rash, and scurvy, and B6 deficiency, which can cause a weaker immune system, confusion, dermatitis with chiliosis, which is similar to chapped lips, and that's only just scratching the surface. He may have others. It would be interesting to see lab results for Daniel's blood, as I'm really curious to see what else is going on inside him. As for these symptoms and deficiencies, he seems to present with many of these. I wouldn't go as far as to say that he has scurvy, but maybe in due time his symptoms will worsen. He does seem to have a vitamin B6 deficiency though, as along with a poor immune system and confusion, he definitely has dermatitis, as seen in many of his videos. I don't think that Daniel has been homeless and malnourished for long enough that his vitamin deficiencies are incredibly severe, but I do think that as time progresses they will only get worse, which will only be accelerated by his poor diet. Daniel's posture is also incredibly poor. Many pictures of him sitting while on his phone are out there, and in every single one of them he is hunched over to an insane degree. In addition to sitting, his posture while standing or walking is also notable. Many people say he looks fruity or gay in many photos and videos, and he definitely does have a lot of flair in his step. This bad posture could be the result of some sort of back-related issue. I myself have kyphosis, and judging by Daniel's posture, he may have a more pronounced case of it. While scoliosis makes the spine curvy, kyphosis is the erosion of bone and cartilage in the spine, causing the vertebrae to become wedge-shaped. This will result in pain and poor posture, and without any physical therapy, it will only worsen. One of his funniest posts on his community tab was him complaining about back pain after waking up, saying, quote, "My back feels like wood." I personally use this Daniel quote more than any other in my personal life, and it's one of my favorite Danielisms. While it may be unclear what sort of back-related issue he may be facing without any x-ray examination, he definitely presents with a lot of back-related problems. If he continues to sleep on the streets and on the pavement, and sit the way he does, he will definitely have more problems as he ages. Beyond just being skinny, Daniel also doesn't have any muscle and never works out. In videos where he's flexing, it's reminiscent of how I looked when I looked in the mirror and flexed as a preteen. Simply embarrassing. With how skinny he is and his lack of muscle, he doesn't really stand a chance in any real fight. As I talked about in the previous video, he was very hesitant to hit anyone who isn't old or a woman, and it's likely that he knows that he would be snapped in an instant like a twig. Anytime he is confronted by a security guard, or any younger male for that matter, he gets very timid. A good analogy is a chihuahua cornered in a yard. He'll yell up his ass off, but he knows he'll be crushed if anything actually happens. It's also worth mentioning that people with severe mental impairments, such as Daniel, struggle to care for themselves the way they should, including eating properly. Being outside of a care home for this long will make it much harder for Daniel to get the nutrients and calories he needs to survive. For the time being, he seems to be just getting by, but if he continues with his borderline starvation diet with bland meals, he'll risk more serious illnesses like scurvy. These next two that I will talk about are extremely gross, so if you don't want to hear about any nasty stuff, please skip ahead to the abuse and neglect timestamp. Daniel's social media presence has led him to post some incredibly wacky and gross videos. Many of these include him touching himself or are just nude images, but some get even more vile. Firstly, Daniel frequently stalks the Daniel Larson subreddit, and will post a lot of things similar to what he does in the community tab on YouTube. On one occasion, he titled a post, "I'm not feeling well," with a picture of diarrhea in a toilet with a shit-covered rag next to it. I obviously can't show this, but if you feel so inclined, I believe it's still one of the top posts on the subreddit. In addition to this, when his Quora leaked, he made a few posts asking what, quote, watery diarrhea meant, indicating that this may be a more chronic problem. Odds are, though, Daniel runs on awful food and overworks himself, and this intestinal issue is probably more stress-related than a sign of a serious issue. A few days after his previously mentioned hospital visit for his numb foot in November, Daniel came back for stomach pain. It's unsure what sort of issue may have caused this, though it is important to note that this was directly after being kicked out of housing during November. It could be that he went in for shelter and exaggerated his issues. Nonetheless, he was prescribed something for his stomach, though it's unclear what. All that is known is that he was instructed to take it 3 times per day. Again, like most treatments, it doesn't seem like he followed through with the medication and likely threw it out not long after. It didn't seem to amount to any serious issue, and he didn't have any more complaints after leaving the hospital.
Hello. They prescribed me whatever.
Thank you.
Thank you. 3 times a day.
Alright, what's the date of birth?
11/15/1998.
I'm not going to say the real word, but Daniel has often commented how it feels to release. Throughout his numerous chats with fake races and his insane Quora feed, he has consistently talked about it feeling like he's being stung when he does it, saying things like, "It feels like a needle piercing me," or "It feels like hornets." In this video, he describes his experience with this, though the video is likely scripted by trolls. Still, a lot of what he says is in line with what he said in other places.
So, when I'm going, it starts off with a tickle. The tickle builds, it turns into burning, and then the burning turns into head rush, and then I gag just as I, and then when I, it feels like, basically like a gigantic needle piercing right through my. Here's a good question. Why is my red?
There are two likely explanations for the stinging feeling. First, he could have a urinary tract infection caused by his bad hygiene. He rarely washes his shit-crusted hands and will then proceed to touch himself using those same hands, which may lead to an infection. He has never been in a relationship, though he claims to have been raped in the past, but that is likely a lie, so it's almost not certainly an STD. The second reason he could have this sensation is due to how he treats himself. I can't show videos, and I can't use descriptive language, but the best way to describe it is a monkey learning how to do it for the first time. He looks like an animal. He'll bash it into walls, smack it, punch it. It could be that he somehow injured himself over the numerous years of doing this, resulting in the pain. Overall, Daniel is a very nasty, grimy man, and it's resulted in this kind of issue. The next set of issues relate to his incredibly early years, pre-TikTok and pre-Tennyson Center. As a child, Daniel grew up in an incredibly abusive and neglectful home. It's unclear exactly to what extent he was neglected, but it seems like he was physically and verbally abused. He rarely talks too much about this, but he has discussed it from time to time. On one occasion, he details the time his mom allegedly hit him with a hammer. However, I would take it with a grain of salt.
Did you know that one time my mother and me, when I was younger and I lived in California, were making my bed? It was a bunk bed and my mother wanted me to help and I didn't know how to, so she got the hammer and hit my hand with the hammer.
It does seem believable, however, but knowing how much of a liar Daniel is, I can't quite tell for certain. Still, he definitely has been neglected as a child. In the Tennyson Center video, he appears incredibly small, similar to how he does today. It could just be that he has a very good metabolism, or it could be that as a child he wasn't in a very food-secure household, either due to poverty or due to abuse. Many people have also spoken about Daniel potentially having fetal alcohol syndrome. Judging by pictures, it's likely that this is the case. He does have a smaller head, and he also has an incredibly thin set of lips. Additionally, drinking while pregnant can lead to intellectual development issues, and this could be a partial explanation for his mental state. It's unclear from his mom's post history if she is an alcoholic or if she ever was one, but considering Daniel's slew of intellectual disabilities such as autism, it could be a contributing factor. Daniel's mother apparently has lupus as well, which is hereditary, though it doesn't seem Daniel has inherited it. Daniel also had two siblings, though I'm unsure if they are half-siblings or full. They were twins and died shortly after they were born, but it's unclear as to why. It could be related to an immune disorder or drinking, but without knowing any context, I won't speculate. I feel very bad for Daniel's mom, as losing not one but two children after just having them must be incredibly hard. This is something Daniel never faced, but he rose to fame during COVID, so it's worth mentioning. Despite his hygiene, Daniel never seemed to get COVID. Surprisingly, Daniel seemed to actually wear a mask semi-consistently during peak COVID. The mask was naturally always dirty and nasty, but I guess it worked. He talked about COVID a few times, but he seemed to have avoided it against all odds. As for Daniel's vaccination status, he did actually receive at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. He hasn't ever posted any anti-vax content, but it seems that this is the only time he's gotten a shot. It's likely he is far behind on the rest of his vaccinations, such as for the flu. It's also unclear if he got a second dose of the COVID shot or just this one. I'm inclined to believe that he may have gotten a second dose because this was during his time in housing.
Alright, you ready? Yep. Dang. We're all set.
In spite of the endless list of ailments and illnesses, Daniel has quite the athletic record. Besides music and being famous, Daniel also seems to have a passion for sports. While he was young, he would participate in Special Olympics. It's unclear for how many years he participated, but judging by the photos, he appears to have done this after the Tenny Center video, and seems to be a teenager. The sports he partook in include bowling, swimming, running, and volleyball. He likely played more than this, but I am unable to find any other pictures of him. While it's unknown how well he did in other sports, he did come in first place at one of his swim meets.
please have all lead-up athletes come to the awards area. All lead-up athletes, please be near the awards area.
Judging by the photos of all the participants, Daniel seems to be in much better shape, so I would assume that he likely outperformed many others at these events. While being an adult and homeless has limited the time he could spend playing sports, he still has had the opportunity to compete and play now and again. While he was hanging out with Brink, they took him to play basketball.
Double dribble, double dribble.
As you can see, he's definitely not cut out for the NBA. Overall, Daniel seems to like bowling the most. Even while homeless, he would find the time to head to a bowling alley to play, and to give him credit, he does seem to be pretty decent. As I mentioned earlier, Daniel doesn't really have a fighting physique. He has threatened to throw hands before, but besides Bob, there are no other clips of him hitting a person. He does, however, have it out for walls and windows. On countless occasions, he has hit and broken walls in care homes. Here's a brief compilation of all the holes he's made.
Ow, I need an ambulance. Ow.
Oh, my fucking career!
Oh, you see your head? He also punches himself quite often, and even goes to the point of bleeding. I already talked about this before, so I won't go much deeper, but overall, he does appear to be around average in strength. Most people can punch themselves to the point of bleeding, and most people can make holes in their own wall. He doesn't have much muscle, but neither do half the people in the US. Honestly, considering how unfit most people in the US are, Daniel might even exceed average. By far, Daniel's most notable accomplishment happened last year when he walked the Colfax Marathon. He finished with a time of 6 hours, 23 minutes, and 39 seconds, making for an average pace of 4.1 miles per hour, around 15 minutes per mile. He started out much quicker, either jogging or speed walking, making a pace of 10 minutes per mile, and progressively slowed as the race went on. Ultimately, he came second to last in his division for all finishers. While completing a marathon is quite the accomplishment in its own right, to do so while homeless, with decaying socks and shoes, and with blisters and developing trench foot, it's even more impressive. It's likely that this had a very significant effect on his feet, as doing that much activity is really strenuous, and it definitely contributed to his trench foot and blisters. It's also worth pointing out that for the entire marathon he was on his phone, either taking TikToks or calling managers. It's funny to see that no matter what he is doing, he can't put that phone down for the life of him. Beyond marathons, as I mentioned before, he walks everywhere, easily walking upwards of 3 to 5 miles per day while homeless. Finally, Daniel has also had a history with being made to dance and do jumping jacks or other goofy activities by trolls. He doesn't do them often enough to really be considered a regular workout, but he definitely still is quite flexible and agile. He's tried to use this as a marketing ploy, saying that for $50 he will do jumping jacks on a live stream, though he's never done any for donations. He also did jumping jacks in support of the Black Lives Matter protests, likely being told to do this by trolls.
This is for George Floyd. Rest in peace. Black Lives Matter.
This doesn't have much to do with his overall health, but it is an anomaly. Just like his teeth and figure, another notable feature of Daniel's is his long nose. It's impressive how big it is. Analogies have been drawn to Minecraft villagers, a bird's beak, and a shark's fin. I won't dwell on this for long, but it's just too funny to not include. It also appears to be even bigger because his body is so small, and his lack of teeth make his lower face smaller. Looking at his mom, I don't know where he got his beak. Neither of his parents seem to have noses of this size. This has definitely been the longest and most rigorous video I've made yet, and I really do want to do more of this size. As with the previous videos, if there are any errors or things that I said that are wrong, please do let me know. I appreciate all the comments and they make my videos better. Also, as I'm fresh to making videos, if there are any ideas to improve audio quality or make the videos overall more enjoyable, please let me know. Last video did surprisingly well, and I'm at around 200 subs now, so I want to thank all of the people who tuned in. I'll be doing a follow-up video in the next week replying to all the comments in the videos, as well as commenting on where I want to take the channel. If you don't want to miss any of that, please subscribe. I also want to thank the Reddit, Curator, and Wiki for a lot of this content. There's so much shit about Daniel out there, and without these sites, it would have been nearly impossible to make this. If there are any other Daniel Larson videos you want me to cover, please let me know. The next video might be a while because I have a summer class coming up and I'm be quite busy. I'm still working on the Grace video, and I'm also working on an Ox one as well. On that, if anyone does have contact with Ox, I'd love to talk with him in an interview to get a full picture of his story. Anyways, with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Stay tuned. Alright, it is 8 o'clock in the morning. I wanted to make this video last night, but it was like 3 a.m. I'm going to make this video as quickly as I can. I have no script for this video, so it's going to be a little different. This is a very serious video. If you do not want to hear about animals and animal abuse, animal neglect, do not watch this video. If you have been following the Reddit and the YouTube, there is currently a very serious situation going down involving Daniel Larson and a dog. If you haven't been paying attention or you haven't been tuned in, what's been happening for the last few weeks is Daniel Larson has had a cameo where he has made actually quite a bit of money. While he's been changing the prices from like $10 to all the way up to like $1,000, I thought not many people were buying cameos, but evidently people were. And even yesterday, people were buying $75 cameos. So he's been actually making a decent amount of money. I don't think it's enough to buy an apartment. It's not enough to like really sustain him. And because he's so idiotic with the way he spends money, he definitely hasn't saved it. But he does have a little bit of money. Now, with his, mentally challenged mind, what did he decide to do? Not buy an apartment, not buy food, not even buy nachos this time. He decided to go out and get a dog. So again, if you're out of the loop, he's been in Colorado. He hasn't been in Denver, but he's been in a city near Denver, Longmont. So he went to the Longmont Humane Society and got a dog from them. It seems that the adoption fee was probably around $100. I think it was $89, but with tax and all that, it's probably around $100. And he managed to actually adopt a dog. Now you may be wondering how a homeless man like Daniel Larson managed to adopt a dog. From what it seems, he actually lied and said he had an RV to get the dog. I'm really genuinely shocked about this because usually they do background checks. When I got my dog, they did like a background check to make sure, we're actually going to care for this dog. We live where we live, the whole shebang. Are we not going to, kill this dog, let it run to the streets, all that. Usually they're pretty strict about this, so I was genuinely surprised to see that they let Daniel Larson get a dog and let him lie about where he lived. Even beyond that, just like one good look at Daniel and you would see that this guy is definitely not taking care of himself, so I don't know how they let him take it. But still, they, I guess, let him adopt a dog, and lo and behold, that dog's name, wait for it, is Grace. Grace. So take that as you will. He seems to have actually renamed the dog to something even more stupid. Music. Yeah, Music. So he's just so incredibly dumb for this. He didn't actually post getting the dog. He didn't post being at the society. He didn't post having the dog. But a guy on TikTok actually managed to find Daniel and posted 2 TikToks with him and the dog. The TikToks have since been deleted, and he's actually blocked me on TikTok. But the TikToks still are out there, so you can see here that he has the dog, and he's, petting and hanging out with the dog. It seems that the dog is pretty hot. He does have a bowl of water, but it does seem that the water bowl is empty. From what it seems, that video is taken probably around 8 o'clock, probably a little sooner than 8. There was a few other videos that Daniel himself posted with the dog, probably around that same time, if not maybe a little earlier, where in this video that I'm about to show, the dog is very clearly whimpering and very clearly in distress. It doesn't seem like the dog wants to be near Daniel. The dog seems very hot. Do not watch this video if, you don't want to hear this dog whimpering. It's very, very sad.
Sit. I know, I gotta get you some water. I know, I have to get you some water.
So as you can see, this dog does not want to be near Daniel, and as soon as this video and the videos posted to TikTok hit the Reddit, shit hit the fan. So people immediately thought that this might be BS. I thought initially that just a fan posted this, they gave their dog to Daniel for a photo op, but no, this is actually real. He actually adopted this dog. He has the paperwork for this dog. So fans on the Reddit, fans all over are completely pissed off, rightfully so at Daniel. I really don't know what people can do exactly. I, for one, have been calling the Humane Society. I called Animal Control. I did my best to email and post on Facebook to try to get the attention of the Humane Society. When I called the Animal Control last night, it was after hours. They said that they'll call me back in the morning. So hopefully within the next few hours, I'll get a call from them. But there was nothing they could do at the time. I didn't get anything back from the Humane Society. Again, it was after hours. But hopefully they do see this. I really hope that they take this seriously. I sent them a link of Daniel saying he's going to do things to the dog, all this shit, to make sure that he gets on a do not adopt list. This guy does not need a fucking dog.
Did you guys know I am an animal murderer? When I was a toddler, still in preschool, my neighbor had a dog, and that dog loved to play with me. I loved it when that dog got on top of me and rolled around. But that dog ended up, there was like a fence, right? And I was chasing this dog. And the dog started to jump over the fence. And these fences sometimes fences have these little spikes on the fence. It went straight down, right through his chest and killed him.
I also, if you've seen my TikTok or if you've seen my anywhere, I posted this everywhere, I have put out a bounty. If you go and you find Daniel Larson and you do 3 things. 1, you get that dog and bring it back to the Humane Society. 2, get that dog's papers from Daniel Larson. And 3, send proof that you did that to me, either on here, on TikTok, whatever. Send it to me on Discord, Goated Minds on Discord. If you send that shit to me, I will give you $100. I've also seen other people claim that they'll give 50, whatever amount of money. But I promise you, if you do this, not only me, but I'm sure other people will be more than happy to give you money to either care for the dog or return the dog or whatever, just for your troubles. After the Reddit started freaking out, commenting on Daniel's video, Daniel started reacting back. So he immediately started complaining about getting doxxed, about getting harassed. He started going on the Reddit and actually posting screenshots and pictures of the dog and of his finances. He posted a picture of his Cameo money. He posted a picture of him talking to Warren or whoever his current management is. And he posted a few pictures of the dog. I will say the dog does look very healthy at least. So, it's not frail. So I feel like it might be able to survive a day or 2 with Daniel, but still it's very concerning. The situation reached a point where his former management, Ox, actually reached out and said he is going to take his motorcycle down to where Daniel is in Longmont and try to get that dog from him. He seems to be in contact with Daniel again now. I really hope that Ox can save this dog. I feel like if there's anyone who can do it, it's Ox. So that's really all there is to say about the situation at this point in time. There's not much people can do themselves if you don't live in, the Colorado area, besides potentially calling Animal Control or emailing the Humane Society. But I will say, because I've done it, and I'm sure plenty of other people have, that spam calling probably isn't going to do much to help at this point. But still, hopefully they do something. If they do get back to me, I will let you guys know. This is genuinely the worst thing that Daniel Larson has ever done. I have seen this dude stick things up his butt. I've seen this dude beat the shit out of Bob. I have seen this dude say the N-word more times than I can count. I've seen Joshua Block say racial slurs. I've seen him stomp out a fish. But let me say, this is the first time where I feel genuinely, truly, down to the core disturbed by something that a lolcow has done. Like, this is genuinely disturbing. This is like Chris Chan fucking his mom, almost, levels of disturbing. It's one thing when he beats himself or punches himself or whatever, or, sticks shit up his ass. But this is a dog who wanted to get a good home, who did not ask to be with Daniel, who did not ask to be adopted by him. Even Bob willingly hangs out with Daniel to some extent. But this is an innocent, completely innocent and helpless dog that he is going to kill if he does not take care of it. And the dog did not ask for that. It's truly, like, down to my core. I am shook. I couldn't sleep last night. Like, this is genuinely a fucked up incident. This is a man who can barely feed himself. I mean, he is 100 pounds. He cannot feed himself. He passed out last year because he didn't drink enough water during the heat. This is a man who cannot afford food on a regular basis and has to beg online for money. Do you think that a man that has to beg online for money can afford not dinner just for himself, but food 2 times a day, at least 2 times a day for his dog? And this isn't a small dog either. This is a pretty large dog. This is a dog that will need a lot of food. I have a dog similar in size to Daniel's. And let me say, this dog needs a lot of water. It needs a lot of food. It needs a lot of care. And to take it on as long of walks that Daniel will is going to kill this dog. My dog can barely go a mile without, needing to have a pretty solid drink of water. But Daniel walks, 5-10 miles a day. And it's going to be 90 degrees in Denver and in the Colorado area. That dog is going to fucking die, and Daniel doesn't give a single fucking shit. He's posting on Reddit, he's posting on YouTube. He doesn't understand the fucking seriousness of the situation and how unlikely it is that this dog is going to last a single week with him, let alone through today. So I really hope he can surrender this dog. So Daniel, if you're listening to this, you best pray that I or no one else fucking finds you, because I swear to God, if I ever find you, you do not want to know what would happen. This is genuinely the most disgusting thing you have done, and if you do not amend this situation, there is no hope for you, and people are not going to support you in any fucking way. No more cameos, no more anything. No one wants to see you be a fucking degenerate and kill a dog. It is going to be over for you, and I tell you, people are willing to hurt people when animals are involved. I'm not calling anyone to do violence. I'm not calling anyone to do anything like that. But let me say, when people involve animals in this way and they hurt animals, they're not willing to hold back. That's going to be the end of this video. I don't have any script for a new video in the coming weeks, so we'll see. I'm really going to rush this video to get this out, so I'm sorry it's kind of shit. But I really hope this dog can get help. Stay tuned.
I walk straight into the Colorado lottery machine.
Okay.
And yeah. So then they are like, oh, you do anything to that, Colorado lottery machine. And by that time, I've already punched it.
Uh-huh.
The entire machine, all lottery tickets are on the floor.
Dang.
And at that point, everyone backs up again. But it's clear, right, from the beginning that, like, guys, just leave me alone.
Yeah, just leave you alone.
Just, I'm trying to come
You're
in
grieving.
here for a reason,
Yeah.
Call police, but I'm hyperventilating. That's not the time to come over, even if it is creating a scene.
Yeah.
Right? This is an emergency situation, and I understand that, right? But it was just kind of like everybody was in the wrong. So I kind of was like, So at that point, that gives me the space to move. They start corralling me again.
Uh-huh.
You see what I mean? Because I'm moving. So I go over to the gift card section. And, the gift cards, and I'm start picking them off one at a time.
Uh-huh.
Dropping them on the floor.
Oh, gotcha.
You see what I mean? To
Yeah.
start acting like I'm on drugs or something, right?
Yeah.
Even though I'm not. Right?
Yeah, I understand.
Because at that point, I could physically think, but I knew what was going on, and I knew the things that have happened. And I was just like, you guys really took this, like to a life-threatening level.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just end this. I will completely escalate this until whatever needs to happen happens. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
At that point, I hear security on the phone at the Walmart, the Walmart security, going like, okay, well, he's acting all schizo now. I don't even know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. So,
like legitimately, and I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I stand just start walking, and you know I'm just guiding people through the Walmart. Like I own the fucking Walmart.
Yeah, you own that shit.
Because that one security guy who was being a jerk from the beginning, when I was hyperventilating and giving me threats for no reason, when I wasn't even doing anything, he was in the wrong in the first place. Right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, everybody's fucked up now. I'm just gonna take this and, I'm gonna be innocent, right?
Yeah, you're innocent.
Everybody's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I start doing, walking through all the aisles, just knocking everything just down.
Wow.
Nothing broke.
Yeah, just a little mess. Yeah.
Stuff like that. I was messing around with that. And by that time, just some random, I guess, motorcycle guy comes over and just pins me to the floor.
Damn.
Would have been able to get up, but he, when your kneecap hits the floor?
Yeah, yes.
He got right on my kneecap.
So you couldn't get up.
On my head.
So he did like a George Floyd on you.
He kind of did kind of, but technically he wasn't on my neck.
Okay, so it was like.
Yeah, he basically pinned my head part.
Yeah.
He put his knee on my ear and pinned that to where I started screaming, get the fuck off of me. And by that time, everybody came over. There was I want to say a group of 50 people.
Yeah. So it was a big scene. So just to
it was a big scene.
So just to reiterate, the big black guy you were talking about, you did not call him the N-word.
I did not say any of that.
Okay. Were you thinking about it though?
I picture it this way. I couldn't think.
Yeah, I feel
because I
you.
was hyperventilating most of the time. So most of the time I just didn't say anything. It was all silent.
Yeah, it was all in your head.
So for all they care, they thought I probably couldn't even talk, right?
Yeah, like nonverbal. Yeah, nonverbal autism.
They came, and the police, of course, on the ground, before I got up, they were putting me in handcuffs, right? And then they start questioning me, okay, tell us the story, what's going on? And then they're like, yeah, he's getting charged. And I hear that. And then I'm like, well, I could tell you this is what happened. Everybody pretty much did this and this and this and this and this. I just pretty much started from the get-go.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm pretty sure they already had somebody looking at cameras, right? Because of how big it was, right? So they called paramedics and they're like, his face is bleeding. They call him over. The guy gets me, right? And takes me, basically they do what they call protected custody, right? Where they don't put you in jail, but if they're going to charge you here, they in a mental hospital.
Yeah, I understand.
That's what they did.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Of course, my number got leaked because of everything.
I heard about that, yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically what happened. And at that point, I hear them go well, we're police officers, and from what we can tell you, you had a shitty day. Don't tell us you're sorry, because from what we can see, your story matches.
Yeah.
And I'm just in my mind going without, because I was still hyperventilating and now paramedics are over. All that, and then still, people were there watching it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I was kind of felt like a sigh of relief because I knew I was fine, right? And I was going to be protected.
Yeah, that's
The
good.
bad news is the Walmart charged me for the fucking gift card.
How much money was that?
They're claiming $2,000 in gift cards.
Holy.
Because apparently when a gift card hits the ground, they legally cannot sell it.
Oh, because it's it's out of.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Because it's literally a gift card. What if the gift card's not damaged? Even if it hits the ground, they legally can't sell it.
That's
And so
weird.
they didn't charge me for anything else. They only charged me for the gift cards.
Only for the gift cards. Maybe they're just trying to scam you.
Even though I tried to punch the guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the security guard, and I gave threats. None of that even mattered because they said that I was in self-defense.
Yeah, that was all self-defense. And then you told me that earlier you said that, who did you push the shopping cart at? Didn't you throw a shopping cart at someone?
Yeah, I pushed the shopping cart into a 400-pound Walmart employee who pretty much said, like, what are you going to do? Because you have to get past me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was clearly hyperventilating, sitting on the floor, doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I think, honestly, Daniel, I think a lot of that, the black security guard, that might have been a racial attack against you.
It was not, yeah, he was not, he was American.
Okay, American, okay.
So, yeah, it wasn't like a racial thing on him or anything like that. I have to go.
Okay, that's okay. Just call me back. I'm going to keep you updated, okay, Daniel?
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that the person took the dog to Longmont.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Can you go live earlier? Can you go live in a little bit?
Yes. I will be, but I will be doing it later.
Okay.
I will explain everything.
Okay. I appreciate it, Daniel.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good one. Bye.
Great fucking job.
Oh,
great job.
Okay, I ain't fucking lying about shit.
Did you guys know I am an animal murderer?
I really don't know how to start this video. All my other videos have had goofy intros, and I've tried to keep the mood somewhat unserious, but this is a very unique case. As such, I'm going to keep the tone much more serious here. Before I begin, while this story does have a happy ending, the content of this video discusses animal neglect, and some of the footage may be alarming to people. I also recommend watching my previous video on Daniel's dog, as that gives the TLDR, but I will also cover all these details in this video. A lot of this information comes directly from the sources, as I have been in contact with pretty much everyone I will talk about in this video, minus Daniel himself. Before we really begin, there are a lot of contextual points that I need to make about Daniel. Firstly, let's talk about Daniel's history with dogs. In the past, he apparently had a dog named Broadway. It's unlikely that this was his dog in the sense that he exclusively cared for it, and was much more likely a family pet, probably his grandmother's. However, the dog sadly passed away in 2019, only a few months before Daniel's grandmother would pass. There are also a handful of documented incidents where he's interacting with dogs, and he usually seems incredibly scared or uneasy. He has been confronted by strays and seems very wary of them. While this alone is enough evidence as to why he shouldn't have a dog, there is another video which is much more concerning. While this video is almost certainly scripted by trolls, it was still alarming to many and was used later on as evidence sent into the police and animal control.
Did you guys know I am an animal murderer? My neighbor had a dog, and that dog loved to play with me. I loved it when that dog got on top of me and rolled around. Ended up, there was like a fence, right? And I was chasing this dog. And the dog started to jump over the fence. And you know, these fences sometimes fences have these little spikes on the fence. It went straight down, right through his chest and killed him.
Still, despite all this, he had mentioned a few times in the weeks before the incident that he wanted to adopt a dog, though many people shrugged it off as regular Daniel ramblings. Further, the odds that he could even adopt one were slim, so it didn't concern many people. On so many occasions, Daniel has said that he has security, as in a team dedicated to protecting him, and him saying that he wants a dog for protection fell in line with these delusions. For the past few weeks, Daniel has had a new manager of the name Warren. Like most managers, it seems to be a loser teenager who calls Daniel all day, and he hasn't made himself known to the public. Warren seemed to have influenced Daniel to make a cameo, as well as keep himself more secure by preventing him from posting his location as often. Daniel lied a lot about his location during this rescue, and it's likely that he was told to do so by his manager. Finally, Daniel made a cameo, following in the footsteps of another lolcow, Joshua Block, aka World of T-Shirts. While many assume that he didn't make much money off of it, he managed to grab what appears to be over $5,000. While the app says he earned that much, it's unclear if this included the unfulfilled cameos. Regardless, he definitely made bank. It's surprising, as for as much of the time he had it, the prices were absolutely unfair and stupid. While they averaged around $200, at one point they were as low as $10 and as high as $1,000. Even worse, the people buying these cameos only got him to say shoutouts, and he never had funny ones like Joshua Block did. So now, with the desire to buy a dog, and seemingly the funds to do so, he went out to get one. This is the story of the dog arc.
Okay, I ain't fucking lying about shit.
Did you guys know I am an animal murderer?
On Sunday, July 9th, Daniel Larson was in Longmont, Colorado, though it's unclear how long he had been there. He didn't post about this, but he made his way to the Longmont Humane Society to adopt a dog. From what Daniel has stated, one of the primary reasons he got a dog was for security as a guard dog, and he ended up selecting a German Shepherd mix named Zola. Workers and bystanders were concerned about Daniel getting a dog, though the bystanders didn't intervene. The workers were worried, and they tried to slow down the process to gauge if he should be able to adopt, but ultimately they let Daniel take the dog. From what the shelter claimed later on, many people of Daniel's stature pass through and are able to care for dogs, which is very concerning to say the least. The adoption fee was likely around $100, and Daniel was able to pay. While he is homeless, and the shelter doesn't allow homeless people to adopt, he lied on his application and stated he was living in an RV. They didn't run any background checks or look him up, so they took his word for it. Even more confounding, Zola was diagnosed with Giardia, which is a parasitic infection which affects the digestive system. How they expected for someone of Daniel's stature to care for a dog with that, I'm not sure. While at the shelter, Daniel seemed to have been spotted by fans. He would later post images of people apparently watching him while he was filling out paperwork. I don't think that these were fans actually, and they were likely just his paranoia. I'd like to think that anyone who knew Daniel would alert the shelter that he shouldn't adopt. Plus, most fans would post this online and report the sighting, and since there was no posts online about it, I doubt that they knew Daniel. It's unknown for sure, but the shelter had food and a leash, which Daniel either bought or got free with Zola. Daniel would later claim that he got dry food for Zola from there, but no videos or pictures of Zola eating with Daniel exist, questioning the validity of this. Daniel initially didn't post about Zola at all, and it wouldn't be until a few hours later that he would be seen. A fan in the area named Keith happened to stumble upon Daniel at a Jimmy John's at Village at the Peaks in Longmont, Colorado. He would post 2 videos on TikTok where he is seen talking to Daniel about his new dog.
World of T-Shirts, you better stay away. We got a dog now. We got a dog. This thing will get you, World of T-Shirts.
He's trained to fight you, man.
Yeah.
$50, military grade.
Yeah.
He was
In the videos, the dog is referred to by the name Music. Many people have now called this Zola's, quote, slave name, and as the name Music is confusing, I will only be referring to Zola by her real name. Also, to clear confusion, someone on the Reddit claimed to know the dog's real name and said it was Grace, which was just another troll attempt. Further, when IDing the dog, people initially assumed it could be another dog from the shelter named Arrow, but that was also debunked. Immediately after the videos were uploaded, the Reddit caught wind. Initially, myself and others were skeptical, as not only did it seem unlikely that a shelter would give Daniel a dog to begin with, people didn't believe that he would have the money to get one either. People thought it was just him posing with a fan's dog. It was shortly after confirmed when Daniel would upload his own YouTube shorts showing the dog. I actually managed to talk to Keith, though he shortly after blocked me. I urged him to take the dog from Daniel and offered to pay him. Now, people have been saying that taking the dog is illegal and you'll get in trouble, yada yada yada, so let me address that. Firstly, Daniel got the dog fraudulently. He shouldn't have had it to begin with. Second, Daniel is a frequent flyer with the Denver police, so the odds that he would be taken seriously are slim. Third, even if he did try, he is so bumfuck stupid that he would not be able to navigate the legal system to press charges. And finally, who gives a shit if it's illegal? At the end of the day, if the dog was not rescued, it literally would have died. It's not a time to rationalize, it's very much a don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness type of scenario. And if you want to talk about how Daniel deserved a dog or was his only friend, go back to TikTok and shut up. We all know Daniel is unfit to have a dog, he can barely feed himself, he's nearly died from heat exhaustion, he has no home, and he walks 5-10 miles a day. He cannot care for a dog, let alone himself. Once the Reddit caught wind, they went ballistic, and there was immediate calls to action to rescue the dog. I, as well as other people in my comments and on the Reddit, placed a reward for whoever can verifiably rescue Zola and get her to safety. The call to action quickly made its way to Daniel's previous manager, Ivan aka Oxus. Ox was Daniel's most reliable manager, but people dislike him as they see him as an enabler and sympathizer. When he said that he would go out to find Daniel and rescue Zola, while skeptical, fans were hopeful that he could turn his legacy around. If anyone could peacefully negotiate with Daniel, it would be Ox. Ox was in Wyoming when he said that he would head out, so he wouldn't arrive until the next day. He said that he was inbound on his motorcycle. In the meantime, myself and others called Longmont Animal Control and the Longmont Humane Society. While the Humane Society was closed and no calls went through, Animal Control Dispatch was made aware of the situation. Unfortunately, as it was after hours, they said they wouldn't be able to send out an officer until the morning. While Daniel had been quiet all afternoon, after the news broke, he began posting again. He made a few videos with Zola, wherein she seems to be hot and anxious, and can also be heard whimpering.
Look at the camera. That's a good girl. Hey. Hey, come back. Hey, sit. I know, I gotta get you some water. I know, I have to get you some water.
She didn't appear to have much water, and the bowl Daniel had provided for her was not only empty, but very small. Someone would later identify this bowl as one made for cats and puppies. On top of that, Daniel never seemed to have fed Zola dinner. I believe that if he did try to get her to eat, that he would post a video of this. As none of that exists, I'm inclined to believe that she wasn't fed any real food for the duration that she was with Daniel. Because of his past, people feared that he may not only neglect Zola, but physically abuse her. To add on to the urgency, the weather forecast for Denver read 90 degrees for the coming days, and with no home and no AC, Zola was likely to overheat. Despite being called out, Daniel doubled down. He would make a Reddit account and post numerous times to r/Daniel Larson, seemingly unaware of the seriousness of the whole situation. He pretty much mocked the whole freakout. Eventually, his posts seemed to be labeled as spam and were no longer published to the subreddit. It was getting late in Denver, and people quickly realized that nothing was going to happen that night. Daniel seemed to stay in the Village at the Peaks area, though nobody found him. Daniel's post eventually stopped, and he went to sleep somewhere on the streets. He would post the next morning that Zola was not very much of a snuggle bug. I personally thought that Zola would run away overnight, but it seems that Daniel was smart enough to perhaps fashion a leash to his arm or something. Come morning, people were ready to mobilize to hunt down Daniel. Not only had Ox arrived, but other Redditors, such as the aptly named Keanu Reeves with a gun, were en route to Longmont to find Daniel. I called Animal Control again, and they said that they were looking for Daniel and that they had received several calls regarding the matter. This would be verified by Ox, who said that he saw Animal Control patrolling the Longmont area on the hunt. Others who were out of state were also trying to spread awareness, and not only myself, but other creators such as Smokey MCC made videos explaining the situation. Some videos on TikTok even surpassed 1 million views. Others had thought to put in their 2 stupid cents and said that Daniel needs companionship and that people are witch hunting a poor homeless man. This is completely misrepresenting the situation. This isn't a scenario where someone falls on hard times and is sleeping in their car with their dog, or someone of sane mind getting a dog. This is Daniel Larson, a known abuser who cannot take care of himself and adopting a dog he doesn't know how to care for. Most of the people on the Reddit seem to understand, but on TikTok it seems like so many idiots had to chime in on how people trying to save Zola were evil. As mentioned before, the forecast predicted 90-degree heat in the afternoon, so saving the dog was very much time dependent. I've taken my dog out in cooler weather, and he's of similar size, and even in 70-degree heat, he will need a lot of water and rest. Daniel will walk tens of miles, and in this heat, that would be fatal for a dog. Just the year before, Daniel nearly died of heat stroke for this very reason. After a few hours, Ox couldn't locate Daniel. In a Reddit post, he said that he had looked all over to no avail. And people were not only just disappointed, but very angry that he didn't find him. His reputation was bad enough to begin with, and this made him appear useless. In his defense, he did do as much as he could to help, and he was just very unlucky. Daniel was still quiet online, but he would eventually be spotted at Union Station in Denver. It seems that he took the train to get there. He had mentioned that transportation was free during July, which will only make it harder to track him down as he can more easily move around. In the photo, he is seen with a group of boys dressed in very weird attire. They were immediately mocked for their hideous looks, and they were shortly after exposed as belonging to a group called Expo Productions, which made music videos. They had actually hung out with Daniel before, making people believe that they were aware of the situation, but willfully refused to help the dog for their own gain. After meeting at Union Station, they would make their way to a bridge along the riverway, where for around an hour they would film another music video. During this time, Daniel went live on his YouTube page, Daniel Larson NYC13. While live, fans immediately began to work at doxing his location so animal control could move in. Because doxing is not allowed on the subreddit, they could get subs banned. One of the Reddit mods, Slim Jim Morrison, made a Discord community called Save Music, where people could work together at finding Zola. In the Discord, some members made posts to Longmont and Denver pages, urging people to be on the lookout for Daniel. In fact, on the Longmont Lost Pets page, a user claimed to have actually been in the shelter when Daniel was adopting Zola, and was worried about him. Others claimed to have seen Daniel in the area and were worried about his mental state. To make it worse, a German Shepherd was sadly killed in the Longmont area not too long ago, and after seeing Daniel say he was an animal murderer, they immediately assumed it was him. If he was going to return to Longmont, he was definitely a dead man. While the livestream went on, it would appear as though Zola was pretty much being ignored. Daniel would try calling her name as Music to get her attention, but she didn't want to listen to Daniel. He would often refer to Zola as a he, showing just how little he cared about her.
Music. Good girl. Good girl. Music. 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 Good girl. Good girl. Good girl.
She would cautionally bark at the losers around Daniel, and he said that this was due to her guard dog nature, and continued on about how he got her to be a guard dog.
Hey. You know who that is? Stop it. Sit. Okay. Sit. Music. Sit. She just got startled. She just got startled. It's okay. She's a German Shepherd. It's her job. She's a German Shepherd. It's her job. I know you're stressed. Give it one moment. Yeah. Yeah. I know this is a lot for her right now. Hey, I know. Sit. She's like I said, she's got the guard doggish attitude. Yeah.
She had no water available, nor food, and the streamers were more or less just using both Zola and Daniel as props for their stupid music video.
So we're going to take your ID and stand by this sign right here.
Yeah, let's do that. Come on. What do you want me to do? Go stand by the sign?
Alright, hold up by the sign.
Okay.
Maybe go like this. I don't know.
Alrighty. Yeah. Guys, calm down Calm down. All he did was got startled. It's okay. I got him to be a guard dog. That's why I got him. If you get close to the dog, just take off your mask. I know you guys are filming. It's a she. I get it mixed up, yeah. Is that you?
It is, and this is him on guitar.
Okay.
The rest of it's me, though.
Wait. So I am carrying food for the dog, and I am carrying water.
I don't think I could play any of their music on here for fear of copyright, but holy shit, it's fucking garbage. Also, I'm shocked that they didn't rescue Zola if clout was their motive. I can guarantee that rescuing Zola would get them more fame than their stupid songs could ever. People very quickly found their real identities, and their Instagrams were flooded with comments making fun of them and encouraging them to take Zola. They eventually turned off comments and went private. The stream was fairly uneventful, with Zola pretty much sitting there and the losers filming their dumb video. The Discord, however, was working very hard. Very quickly, their location was pinpointed. They were along Cherry Creek under Blake Street. As soon as it was found out, I called Animal Control on behalf of the Discord to give up his location. I informed Denver Animal Control not only of the dog's situation, but of Daniel's abusive past and his claims to be an animal murderer. They requested to see the videos of this, and I sent them over via text. They said that they would send out an officer to the area, but as the livestream came to a close and Daniel said he was going to Starbucks, they missed their window. Daniel also said that he would go live in around a half hour, so we waited for him to go live before calling again, as to not make Animal Control take us less seriously if they gave shoddy info. The Starbucks was found extremely fast as well, but he was not caught there either. Daniel would take a few videos here showing him giving Zola water, though he gives her a heartbreakingly small amount.
My dad. What?
Hold on, I got more.
Not the cool one. No.
Music. Hold on.
Creature. Not the cool one. He said, he called me a poser. Poser?
Music. Music. There we go.
Grab one of the ice cream out of. That's for my head. Sorry, I forgot you one.
He also seemed to have given her a puppuccino while he was there, which is just a cup of whipped cream. He would post this on his community tab, along with other posts saying that Zola wasn't eating, likely due to stress and anxiety, and that he was contemplating buying her nachos. Again, this is incredibly stupid and neglectful, as the loaded nachos Daniel seems to love to eat have onions and garlic, which is toxic to dogs. He stayed at Starbucks with the losers for a few minutes, but eventually they would head back to Union Station. He took a video of Zola in the car on the way back, and it's clear that Zola is tired and anxious. At the very least, she did finally get some AC, but not enough to really help. Once he was at the station and he posted about it, I called Animal Control again to update them on his location, but they narrowly missed him. Even though his train was delayed, he managed to evade them. They actually did catch the losers, though, from what it seems, and in a private message, they detail how they talked to the police after Daniel had left. They also claim to be totally unaware of the situation. I really don't believe them, as not only had they hung out with Daniel in the past, anyone with half a brain could see that Zola was not doing well, though, between all of them, I doubt they have even one brain. After he was on the train, I got a call back from Denver Animal Control asking for more information about Daniel. I sent them the murderer video again, as well as updated them on his whereabouts. It's at this time that Flexburger, one of Daniel's former trolls, and some other people who happened to be in contact came into play. Flex got word that he was inbound to Lakewood, Colorado by train, and was planning to stay at a Motel 6. Because the Discord had become so inflated, miscommunications were had, and I errantly told them that he was heading to Lakeview. A minute later, it was corrected, and I called them back and let them know his true location. Because of this miscommunication, it was clear that a more secluded space was needed, so I created a new Discord server to keep track of Daniel. Around 30 people joined, including the likes of Flexburger, Meep, Ween, Oxus, and Slim Jim Morrison. To clarify, this server wasn't meant to gatekeep Daniel, but to track Daniel without any trolls or misinformation. I would also post any substantial updates to the Reddit during this time to maintain transparency. Thanks to Flexburger, we now knew where Daniel was going to be. As soon as we knew, we contacted the Motel 6 to ask if Daniel had made a reservation, and that if he did show up eventually, to contact Animal Control. They said that he hadn't made a reservation, so it seemed like he hadn't shown up yet and was likely just going to show up unannounced to get a room. He eventually landed and made a few community posts and shorts. He stated that he was going to be eating dinner at a Panda Express. In one of his videos, he is seen on a patio with yellow and red umbrellas. Pretty quickly, it was determined to be a Good Times burger and frozen custard in Lakewood, around a block from where his Motel 6 was. It's clear that he was likely being instructed by his manager Warren to lie, or perhaps he had become smart enough to not dox himself so easily. I called Animal Control, but at this time they were closed, so I called the non-emergency line. I said that I was recently at the Good Times and was concerned about the dog's well-being. I lied, as I assumed saying that I was following the man online would make them not take me seriously. They believed my story and said that they would send out an officer as soon as they could, but it wouldn't be a priority as they had much more pressing matters. Daniel stayed at the Good Times for around an hour and likely got dinner there. It's unclear if he did feed the dog or got water to Zola, but I'd assume he'd at least give her a little water. Again, because he didn't post a video in his community tab about her eating, I very much doubt that she was fed. I called the Good Times a while after, and they said that they did see him, but that he had left. As Flexburger's line has gone cold, as well as our other insiders, we called up local businesses in the area to see if he was around. The Starbucks and PetSmart both said that they didn't see him, but we got very lucky when I called KFC. I called just as this very sweet lady was getting off of her shift, and she walked outside and said that she saw Daniel charging his phone. God bless her. Right after I followed up with the non-emergency line and said that I drove past Good Times again and saw him by the KFC. They said that they would send someone out as soon as they could, but they were never able to get an update nor did an apparent search. A while later, a user by the name Ween joined our server. Ween is a woman who lives in the area, and she was able to go out and look for Daniel. It was around 10 or 11 when she set out, so it was dark. Flex had informed us that he wasn't at a motel, and calling the Motel 6 confirmed this. He also began texting about hearing gunshots, which were actually fireworks. Ween would end up looking around the area, including the Good Times and a park a block away. While she didn't find Daniel and Zola that night, she evidently was spotted by Dan, as he would say this in his schizo ramblings the next day that he saw her. Ween was clearly hot on Daniel's tail. Unfortunately, though, the night came to a close, and everyone online anxiously awaited for dawn to come so Daniel could once again be tracked. As he never came up with the money for a motel, he would end up sleeping outside again. He lied about getting a motel and posted an old picture in his community tab saying they got an Airbnb to throw everyone off. He was also aware of the dog napping threats and posted a screenshot of him Googling the punishment for stealing someone's dog. He shared a link to the Reddit as well, linking to a video about why German Shepherds are so great. I find it so whack that of all the posts he chose to share, he chose that one, and he surely must have seen how angry people were at him. I guess his rock brain just didn't comprehend how serious the situation was. Also around the end of the day, the Longmont Humane Society would finally address the happenings. They made a Facebook post saying that they are aware of the situation and they were taking it seriously. They also requested any information be directed to their email. Before the post, they had disabled all comments and their Google reviews were bombarded with fans angry about them giving a dog to Daniel. A user by the name Meep would join our Discord as well, and they were a worker at the shelter, though they were not there when Daniel was getting the dog. They would eventually help facilitate Zola's return. They explained that Zola was a 9-year-old German Shepherd mix and that she was very kind and sweet at the shelter. They were also worried about her not eating, as Zola is usually very hungry, in a good way of course, at the shelter. It was evident that they were very concerned about Zola, and they communicated with the Humane Society the best they could to get Zola back. On top of all of this, the Humane Society and Animal Control were very much aware of the situation and were investigating. Should Daniel return to Longmont, his head would undoubtedly be on a pike. Even though the night was coming to a head, the walls were very clearly closing in on Daniel. It was now the morning of Tuesday, the 11th of July. Daniel Larson was missing in action. Insiders like Flexburger were asleep, and the search had begun again. The places to start were naturally the Good Times and KFC, but the KFC hadn't seen him and the Good Times was closed. I also called the Starbucks, but he wasn't there either. Finally, I called the PetSmart and I had asked if they had seen a man wearing a red shirt walking a German Shepherd mix in their store. They did, very recently. We had a lead. This would later be confirmed by Daniel himself, and he said that he had purchased a harness for Zola at the PetSmart. Ween was in the area scouting, and at 10:57 Denver time, Daniel Larson was found. He was at the Good Times in Lakewood, Colorado, just sitting under the umbrellas he was the day before. Ween was feeling ill, but despite being anxious and sick, she approached Daniel. Daniel was somewhat confused, as Ween had appeared sick and was gagging. She asked if she could take Zola for a walk to see if she was healthy, as she was a vet. Daniel explained that she had parasites, and she pretended to do a brief health checkup on Zola. She walked then 30-some feet to her car and loaded Zola and sped off. Daniel stood there absolutely clueless and did not resist the dog napping at all.
What do I do with the dog?
We have to get it to a shelter ASAP. There's a vet hospital.
No.
There was a vet hospital in the area by let me pull it up. There was a vet hospital.
You guys have to get it to Longmont somehow.
So those usually take payment, like they're not rescue vets. That's the issue.
Mm.
And a lot of vet emergencies require payment, and like I don't have the money to pay for her to get checked out.
Mm.
We just we need to find a way to get her to Longmont. That she has to go to Longmont. She can't go anywhere else.
Can someone reach out to Meep and see if someone from Longmont can send someone out to pick her up?
Yeah, that's what needs to happen. Absolutely.
So I just talked to Meep, and I asked Meep point blank. I said, "Is the fact that she stole the dog going to affect Dan being able to get it back?" And she said, "No, Dan's still going to be banned from having the dog."
Okay.
Let's go.
But that like I said, you have to get it to Longmont somehow.
Yeah.
No, I know. Is there any way that person could meet me in northern Arvada or something? Because
Meep's gonna
we're
have.
not-
I know Meep said that she doesn't have transportation. I saw that earlier. So it's gonna have. So she's got to get in contact with her people.
Yeah, she said she's contacting her coworkers though.
All right, great.
I need to check. I still have a meeting.
oh my god, she's sleeping so good. She's curled up, dude. Oh my god.
If you guys can stall for another hour or so, I have a work meeting, but then I can just get a zip car and maybe come pick the dog up and bring
Yo,
it to
Meep said you can drop her off at her house. She said this afternoon she can get somebody to take her to Longmont, but she wants you to drop her off at her house.
Dude,
This is
no, I was shaking so bad. I was like, fuck, I just stole a dog.
Alright, I'm back, y'all. My dad was making me take out my dog.
Oh, and apparently she has Giardia, which is so fucking nasty.
She has what?
What does she have?
Giardia, it's a parasite in dog, it's in everybody's stomach, but once it gets activated, imagine you have diarrhea, but then you blend it in water, and then you add the most foul scent fucking anything in the whole world to it. That's Giardia.
Poor dog.
Kill dogs too.
Dude, has anyone heard from Daniel recently? What?
His phone
The
is
only
dead.
thing I'm scared, holy shit, I stole a fucking dog, and I stole Daniel Larson's dog.
You stole the president's dog.
Save the dog.
The Secret Service was slacking.
I found him by the Good Times by the Starbucks on Wadsworth, by the Walmart Park area.
Daniel must have not had a charged phone at the time, and Ween was not recording, so no footage of the dog napping exists. This is honestly for the best, as we want to ensure that Zola and her rescuers remain safe. Daniel's phone was dead, so we can't know for certain what transpired after, but we can make some pretty good assumptions. He was for sure freaked out. From what he said, he stomped over to Walmart to get some help, and they likely didn't take him seriously, causing him to freak the fuck out. In an exclusive phone call between one of our insiders and Daniel, we can hear his perspective of the events that had transpired. From what he states, he punched and broke a lottery machine, as well as some shelves at the Walmart, causing him to get a $2,000 fine. Apparently, this was recorded, though no footage exists online yet. The police and Walmart security got him pinned down, and either through self-injury or the police, he ended up with a black eye and bruised face. After this arrest, we wouldn't hear from Daniel for another 12 hours. Meanwhile, the Reddit was absolutely blowing up. As soon as the news broke that Zola was rescued, the subreddit was flooded with celebratory posts. People were so glad that she was safe. Ween took her home and gave her water and dog food. As you can see, Zola seems very dehydrated after being outside for so long. Fans were very concerned about her paws as well due to the heat, but they seem to look normal, thankfully. After eating and drinking, she got some much-needed rest, and a meetup was coordinated between Meep and Ween, where Zola could be given back to the Longmont Humane Society. I also posted Ween's Venmo, so people who wished to donate for the rescue could. All the money went to gas, food, or the adoption fee. Some people complained about the plug, but I think after such hard work, Ween was very much deserving of the support. After getting a checkup, Zola was essentially placed in doggy witness protection, and her whereabouts are now unknown, but she is absolutely safe, and I'm sure she will find a loving home very soon. The Longmont Humane Society also posted an update to their Facebook with this message, and also set up a fundraiser. There was some backlash for them asking for money after the incident, but I think that it's fair as many shelters nationwide are slammed. Another worker from the society made a Reddit account and posted about the situation, explaining what happened as well as why they think it happened. They also asked people to stop the wave of harassment. While I understand why everyone is mad, and I am as well, they are very much aware of the situation, and flinging anger at them won't change anything, especially now. I'm glad that Zola was ultimately saved, and the Longmont Humane Society has done their best to work at getting her to safety, as well as never let this happen again. After what felt like an eternity, Daniel Larson was finally set free. The leading theory for his disappearance was either an arrest or a broken phone, but it was confirmed to be the former. The news was broken via his community tab post, where he posted that he was out of police custody and that he was injured. Shortly after, he followed up with an aftermath of his face. He was in full-blown meltdown mode. Our inside men all got spammed with text and phone calls, and he was totally distraught. We finally got him to calm down long enough to get our inside man on a call with him and give us a rundown. This call was received by one of our insiders and was recorded through Discord. While we could all hear it, none of us could speak to Daniel. This is how he described the events.
I walked straight into the Colorado lottery machine.
Okay.
And yeah. So then they are like, oh, you do anything to that, Colorado lottery machine. And by that time, I've already punched it.
Uh-huh.
The entire machine, all lottery tickets are on the floor.
Dang.
And at that point, everyone backs up again. But it's clear, right, from the beginning, that, like, guys, just leave me alone.
Yeah, just leave you alone.
Just, I'm trying to
You're grieving.
For a reason,
yeah.
Call police, but I'm hyperventilating. That's not the time to come over, even if it is creating a scene.
Yeah.
Right? This is an emergency situation, and I understand that, right? But it was just kind of like everybody was in the wrong. So I kind of was like, So at that point, that gives me the space to move. They start corralling me again.
Uh-huh.
You see what I mean? Because I'm moving. So I go over to the gift card section. And, the gift cards, and I'm start picking them off one at a time.
Uh-huh.
Dropping them on the floor.
Oh, gotcha.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Acting like I'm on drugs or something, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Right?
Yeah, I understand.
Because at that point, I could physically think, but I knew what was going on, and I knew the things that have happened. And I was just like, you guys really took this, like to a life-threatening level.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just end this. I will completely escalate this until whatever needs to happen happens. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
At that point, I hear security on the phone at the Walmart, the Walmart security, going like, okay, well, he's acting all schizo now. I don't even know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. So,
like, legitimately, and I'm trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I just start walking, and I'm just guiding people through the Walmart. Like, I own the fucking Walmart.
Yeah, you own that shit.
Because that one security guy who was being a jerk from the beginning, when I was hyperventilating and giving me threat for no reason, when I wasn't even doing anything, he was in the wrong in the first place. Right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, everybody's fucked up now. I'm just going to take this and, I'm going to be innocent, right?
Yeah, you're innocent.
Everybody's fucked up.
Yeah.
So I start doing, walking through all the aisles, just knocking everything just down.
Wow.
Nothing broke.
Yeah, just a little mess. Yeah.
Stuff like that. Just messing around with that. And by that time, just some random, I guess, motorcycle guy comes over and just pins me to the floor.
Damn.
Would have been able to get up, but he, when your kneecap hits the floor?
Yeah, yes.
He got right on my kneecap.
So you couldn't get up.
On my head.
So he did like a George Floyd on you.
He kind of did kind of, but technically he wasn't on my neck.
Okay, so it was like.
Yeah, he basically pinned my head part.
Yeah.
He put his knee on my ear and pinned that to where I started screaming, get the fuck off of me. And by that time, everybody came over. There was I want to say a group of 50 people.
Yeah. So it was a big scene. So just to
it was a big scene.
So just to reiterate, the big black guy you were talking about, you did not call him the N-word.
I did not say any of that.
Okay. Were you thinking about it though?
I picture it this way. I couldn't think.
Yeah, I feel
I
you.
was hyperventilating, so most of the time I just didn't say anything. It was all silent.
Yeah, it was all in your head.
So for all they care, they thought I probably couldn't even talk, right?
Yeah, like nonverbal. Yeah, nonverbal autism.
They came, and the police, of course, because I was pinned to the ground, before I got up, they were putting me in handcuffs, right? And then they start questioning me, okay, tell us the story, what's going on? And then they're like, yeah, he's getting charged. And I hear that. And then I'm like, well, I could tell you this is what happened. Everybody pretty much did this and this and this and this and this. I just pretty much started from the get-go.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'm pretty sure they already had somebody looking at cameras, right? Because of how big it was, right? So they called the paramedics and they're like, his face is bleeding. They call him over. The guy gets me, right? And takes me, basically they do what they call protected custody, right? Where they don't put you in jail, but if they're going to charge you here, they in a mental hospital.
Yeah, I understand.
That's what they did.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Of course, my number got leaked because of everything.
I heard about that, yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically what happened. And at that point, I hear them go well, we're police officers, and from what we can tell you, you had a shitty day. Don't tell us you're sorry, because from what we can see, your story matches.
Yeah.
And I'm just in my mind going without, because I was still hyperventilating and now paramedics are over. All that, and then still, people were there watching it. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But I was kind of felt like a sigh of relief because I knew I was fine, right? And I was going to be protected.
Yeah, that's
The
good.
bad news is the Walmart charged me for the fucking gift card.
How much money was that?
They're claiming $2,000 in gift cards.
Holy.
Because apparently when a gift card hits the ground, they legally cannot sell it.
Oh, because it's it's out of.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Because it's literally a gift card. What if the gift card's not damaged? Even if it hits the ground, they legally can't sell it.
That's weird.
And so they didn't charge me for anything else. They only charged me for the gift cards.
Only for the gift cards. Maybe they're just trying to scam you.
Even though I tried to punch the guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
The security guard, and I gave threats. None of that even mattered because they said that I was in self-defense.
Yeah, that was all self-defense. And then you told me that earlier you said that who did you push the shopping cart at? Didn't you throw a shopping cart at someone?
Yeah, I pushed the shopping cart into a 400-pound Walmart employee who pretty much said, like, what are you going to do? Because you have to get past me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was clearly hyperventilating, sitting on the floor, doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I think, honestly, Daniel, I think a lot of that, the black security guard, that might have been a racial attack against you.
It was not, yeah, he was not, he was American.
Okay, American. Okay.
So, yeah, it wasn't like a racial thing on him or anything like that. I have to go.
Okay, that's okay. Just call me back. I'm going to keep you updated, okay, Daniel?
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that the person took the dog to Longmont.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Can you go live earlier? Can you go live in a little bit?
Yes. I will be, but I will be doing it later.
Okay.
I will explain everything.
Okay. I appreciate it, Daniel.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good one.
He is clearly completely delusional about the situation and has no concept about how crazy people perceive him. He also posted several pictures of Zola on his YouTube, apparently heartbroken about her rescue. He actually accused Joshua Block, aka World of T-Shirts, of being the thief, which is ironic because Michael Quinn had posted this video dick-riding Daniel earlier. Another person he blamed was Tyrone, or who he believes is Grace Vanderwaal's lover. This troll messaged Daniel claiming to have the dog, and he seems to have taken the bait. Daniel went on to describe the incident, and because we obviously had first-hand report, we can verify what is true and what wasn't. It's important to note, Daniel wrote all of this using text-to-speech on a text to Flexburger, so it was transcribed very poorly. The way Daniel describes it, he was spotted at the PetSmart when he went to buy Zola a harness. He then went to get water at the Good Times, and not long after, Ween showed up. He describes her as being in athletic shorts and covered in tattoos. He claims that she said that she had a friend working at the Good Times and asked about Daniel's day in Zola. As I mentioned before, Ween wasn't feeling well, so she was gagging. Daniel says that she threw up, but that just isn't true. Though, I will say, the mental image of this going down the way Daniel is saying is absolutely hilarious. She then tells Daniel that she is a vet and checks out Daniel's dog. Daniel claims that he knew she was lying, but Ween confirmed that Daniel was totally sold on her scheme. He then says that Ween took her leash, but Ween was actually putting her own leash on Zola, and took her for a walk. She talked about the way that Zola was walking to sell the idea of her being a vet, and then quickly took Zola to her car. This Google Maps image shows just how far Daniel was from this, so the fact that Daniel didn't even stop her is crazy. It was only like 30 feet away from Daniel. Daniel also claims that she had been stalking him, which I guess is somewhat true as she had been looking for Daniel the night before. After she left, he went to the Walmart and then he had a freakout. To be honest, Daniel's story here is pretty accurate, minus the vomiting and leash. He pretty much got it. We can't really confirm what happened at the Walmart, but based on the call and his post, he definitely had a crazy destructive freakout with a lot of self-harm. He claims that Walmart people were filming him, and a person on TikTok claimed to actually have been there at the incident. I've attempted to get into contact with this person, but with no luck. I am doubtful, but hopefully this video surfaces soon. As for Ween, he claims to have pressed charges on her, but that's almost certainly a lie. As I said in the beginning, Daniel has no legal recourse here. The shelter wanted the dog back, and the dog was in distress, and he has completely blown his credibility by having a fit. The person facing repercussions is only going to be Daniel. A person on the Reddit actually managed to find what seems to be Daniel's case regarding this, and if it's accurate, he has a court date on July 14th, which is passed as of recording. After the phone call, he continued on with his schizo posting, making tens of insane community posts. Some of the highlights in chronological order include, I'm scared, I'm in contact with the police about the dog napper, his cameo plug randomly added in the middle, a picture of Zola with a million crying emojis, I can no longer trust anyone I know, I will attack on sight. The record label needs to call me immediately. I'm fucking done with them. Piece of shit. I'm hitting myself. Fuck the entire Vanderwaal family. My life in Bob's house is in danger. Finally, his schizo posting came to an epic conclusion when he posted a screenshot of him about to call 911. While it's not certain if he did for sure, I don't think that he was bluffing. He followed this up with a series of shorts where he's increasingly angry and threatens to bomb the White House and demands to be heard by the Supreme Court. I'm sure Daniel Larson versus the people will be taught in civics classes for centuries to come. He also threatened Bob's life about this whole scenario, and I'm not really sure what he had to do with any of this.
Okay, I ain't fucking lying about shit. Bob I need you to go live right now. I need you to make a social media account and put it out there right fucking now that I am not lying, or I will kill you as well. My life is in danger right now. Okay, I just told Bob to block my number, and I just told him that he doesn't support me and he's not being helpful. And so I just told him that I want nothing to do with him and to block my number. And he said, okay. So I'm being serious. I am done until we get what we need and our safety and the rights we deserve. I am blocking everyone in my family. My entire family is in danger, and no one believes what we are saying. My entire family is now famous. All of our houses have been doxxed. We are homeless, and my fans are doxing, getting criminal charges on us that are all false. We will take this all the way to fucking Supreme Court. We are not playing around. We have contacted security companies and they've all refused to work with us because they don't believe what we are saying about our popularity. I am done, and I will not stop until the White House is blown up. Until you guys fucking take shit seriously and start actually helping rather than causing fucking issues. This is to every one of my fans, to everyone out there. Until you guys stop harassing, I'm ending my goddamn career. My mentor, Bob, my entire family is now being targeted too because of you guys, you little pieces of shit. Okay? So I'm done. I'm ending my career. Fuck the record label. Fuck my entertainment manager. And fuck every fucking security company and fuck all police officers. I'm gonna go drop a bomb. Okay, so I just called 911 and I just literally just screamed, I have a bomb, on the 911 number and randomly hung up in hopes to get this situation heard and to get my family the rights that they deserve and the security and protection. I'm sick and tired of fans assaulting, harassing, beating up my family, injuring people, stealing dogs, doxing, and stealing money, fraudulent shit, blaming it on me and my family, and then to make everything worse, say that it's my fault. I'm done. I'm sick and tired of this, and I will, like I said, take it all the way until this gets heard. And if charges will be pressed, I will sue the entire U.S. government and Supreme Court.
After all of these shorts, he finally went live, and it was a grand finale. My Discord server ended up having a watch party of this, including the likes of Ox, Flax, and Ween. Seeing this unfold with a watch party was one of the most insane experiences. The stream began with him talking to the police, who likely came after him after he called in the bomb threat. They do a brief sanity check on him and ask him if he knows where he is, what the day is, and who the president is. He answers all of these correctly, but they can still see he's unwell. He keeps bringing up his fans and being followed, and it's clear the police know he's schizophrenic.
I am a singer-songwriter of Denver, Colorado, and I'm getting spotted on almost every single street corner. The last couple of days have been, like, actually attacked, threatened.
You know where you're at right now?
Yes, I'm in Golden, Colorado.
You know today's date?
It is, I want to say 11th or 12th. 11th, or, yeah. Like, yeah.
Okay. Do you know who the president of the United States is?
Joe Biden.
They finally load him into an ambulance where an EMT gets to chat with Daniel. Daniel rambles on and on about what's been happening, and the EMT doesn't seem to really care. Eventually, another EMT claims to know of Daniel's online presence, and someone asks if he was responsible for property damage a week prior in the Denver School of Mines. He doesn't even attempt to lie and admits that he destroyed property up there. As he has now admitted to the damage, they gave him a $500 fine, setting him up for $2,500 worth of fines this day.
All right, we got somebody here who just wants to ask you a few questions.
Hey, Daniel, I'm Officer Boy at Mines PD.
Hi.
Well, I'm contacting you today to ask you about some damage that was done to one of our walls.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me what happened?
So, I was about last week, I got dropped off by a friend in the parking lot, the parking garage.
Okay.
And I was walking through the building on where the stairwell is.
Okay.
And gave
Yeah,
him a
I've seen your
rundown.
YouTube.
Yes. So I got spotted by a troll and I freaked out. I called the crisis line. They didn't believe me. And I panicked and I freaked out. And I decided I was going to kick the hole. I'm sorry. And if you want to charge me, that's okay. I did get a dog 2 days ago that got stolen, dog napped. People are thinking that that's a joke.
All right, so I'll write you a ticket for the criminal mischief, but I'm gonna let these gentlemen help you. So I'll bring you a ticket. It's like a $500 damage thing, right?
Yeah.
The EMTs talk about getting him a mental health evaluation, and the plan seems to be putting him on a psychiatric hold. The live seems pretty laggy near the end, but eventually they seem to reach the hospital. Daniel says that he'll have to turn his phone off, and that was the end. The only update since then was in a phone call to one of our insiders. He left a voicemail through one of the hospital phones, and by his tone, he seems extremely medicated.
I just wanted to let you know that I put in a request so you can be able to call me and get updates on the progress of my discharge and the, progress summary, if you really want that information. In the meantime, I just wanted to call and let you know that. Anyways, the phones do get cut off at 10 p.m. and they do turn back on in the morning. So I will call you again tomorrow. If you are getting this message, I will give you a call back tomorrow. Bye.
From what he says in here, it seems that he's going to be released and not put in jail, though that remains hazy. Of course, I doubt this is the end of his story, but this was quite the satisfying ending to a 3-day arc. In all the time that I've watched Daniel, I have seen him say insane things. I've seen him beat Bob, himself, stick a toothbrush and pencil up his butt. I've seen him jerk it, beat it, punch it, but never, ever have I felt as sick as I did when I heard that he got a dog. That hit me to my core. I'm so thankful that Zola is safe, and I'm glad to have at least in some part helped. I want to say, while I appreciate people saying thanks to me, I am not the one to thank. I'm some loser in a chair across the country from Daniel, and there were so many more people, even outside of my Discord circle, who are helping find Daniel and save Zola. The real people to thank are the people who put in the work physically to hunt him down and get Zola to safety. Everyone played a role, and I am in no position to take credit here. This really showed just how competent this community can be when it wants to, and without the fans, Zola wouldn't have been rescued. If anything more happens, I'll post updates, but for now, Daniel is in lockup, and we won't be hearing from him for a hot minute. Once he's out, I'm sure we'll have another big incident, and he'll continue rambling on about Zola. If you don't want to miss any updates, please subscribe, and be sure to like this video. As always, I appreciate any comments, and I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this whole thing. But until next time, stay tuned.